to be our first up. I feel like maybe those who aren't as familiar with a lot of the tradition here at Indy might feel like we're making a big deal out of qualifying, but I guess it's just for though you and I who kind of grew up with
Yeah.
this kind of thing. It's huge.
It is a gold plated feather in the hat. Yes, that's something you definitely want to get. Um, my experience here is going to be what the drivers can do on their fourth lap. We're going 10 miles. This is an official Indy qualifying. The tires really go away. It's going to be interesting to see if the drivers can get a good fourth lap time in, because that's been the Achilles heel for a lot of them.
Something to watch out for. And we saw the weather as well. It's actually gone up even since we last looked at it. It's already 105 degrees now that we've switched over here to the qualifying session. Temperatures going up, and it is right smack in the middle of the day, just a quarter after noon here in Indianapolis, Indiana. Waiting for Liam Quinn to head out on the track. They're getting a little talk from the race director before they get going here today. Adam, I'm hoping these guys have managed to get a qualifying set. And you talked about the importance of the prep and listed a few of the things. The difference between the quali and race setup. Oh, boy.
Yeah, it is a very big difference. These qualifying setups are going to be set to run in completely open air and hotter track temperatures. They're going to have all of the air gaps really buttoned up for this qualifying run. And you'd see temperatures on your dash that would terrify you when you got done with that fourth lap. But these engines are set to run at their maximum RPM as we see Wade Hayes get out there. He's about to start his warm-up lap here to get ready to run his 10 miles and try and get the top spot here. He's got what is possibly some of the worst conditions right now, just completely baked track right now. No, not a cloud in the sky.
And Joe, they're doing this in inverse order to how they qualified to actually be eligible for this. So Liam Quinn is our fastest qualifier during the week to get in, but they're going to go to our ninth fastest qualifier, and that's going to be Wade Hayes.
And I realized that as soon as Wade got out there that I was looking at my list backwards. So Hayes starts his first timed lap. It's not like the real one where they can go for as many warm-ups as they want before they want to try for their laps. They have to go. Is through the first south side of the track and onto the back stretch. He's been picking up speed here up to 234 miles an hour. You can see the laps being ticked down in the right-hand side.
Yeah, and Joe, he actually got a little bit unstable through the exit of one, so that's going to mean he's going to drop probably about half a mile an hour to a mile an hour of speed on this lap, and that actually makes a big difference, especially when you're going to see just how close these guys are when they get to the end of their qualifying. So his first lap gets done. That's a 38.951. We'll have our speed calculation up later, but that's currently our fastest lap. That's going to be a 231.065 as far as speed is concerned. So right now, that is the lap to beat.
Nerve-wracking, Bill, probably to be the first one in the very first lap, wondering, is that going to be enough? How is everybody going to compare to that? You have no frame of reference here.
Indeed, and unlike real-world racing, if you happen to put the car here in the wall at qualifying, well, along with not having to go to the hospital and pay a huge repair bill, you're going to get a nice, clean car, and the worst situation you're going to be in is to start ninth at the race. Second lap is in, waiting for the actual speed to come up. Little bit faster, a 131.8, so about 0.8 of a mile an hour faster.
Just starting to pick up speed now. So far, so good on the first two, but he's into the second half of the qualifying, and Bill mentioned it. It's that final lap that will make the difference. Here he comes for the third, already on the north end of the speedway. Out onto the front stretch. Carries the speed well, looking smooth.
Yeah, Wade's line looks fairly conservative. He's just clipping that white painted line through the corners here. So this makes things, he actually got quite a bit lower that time through one, but he was very conservative on those first two laps. Looks like he's being extremely more aggressive here on this third lap. The third lap actually was a 231.953, so that was even faster. This is his fourth lap, and this is the hot lap you're talking about, Soup.
Yeah, the tires are beginning to complain now. And but this was the problem early on. These guys have had a long time to figure out to get this fourth lap faster. Let's see how they do, Joe.
So right now his average is 231.6. And his fourth lap gets put down. It's not quicker. It's mildly slower. And what is that average going to work out to? As they calculate that fourth one, a 231.624 on the final lap. That's right about it as average. So it'll stay at a 231.614 for Wade Hayes. There's your first marker, as we've already got Richard Tam starting his first qualifying lap.
That fourth lap was indeed faster than the opening lap, but not as fast as laps 2 and 3.
All right, so Richard Tam already on the backstretch here. Up to 235 miles an hour, 236 by the time he hits the back stretch end. 237 just was flirting with it when he came into that third corner. This end of the speedway, I don't know about you, Adam, but this side always felt faster than the south end to me.
Yeah, it definitely feels faster, and that's because you're going through this canyon of seats that are so close to the car and that pagoda that's on your left side. So his first lap in now, that's a 38.9, so that is a 231.33. So he's already faster than Wade Hayes' first lap. But let's see whether or not the tires can hang on as he goes down the backstretch.
You were talking about corners 1 and 2 compared to 3 and 4. Now, I can only give you the perspective from somebody who is talent challenged, but for me, 1 and 2, I always seem to hit it with the nose. I always seem to push into that. 3 and 4, for whatever reason, I always seem to get loose. Talk about getting loose. Woohoo!
I'm with you, Bill. I am the same way. I seem to hit that outside wall of 1. He still went faster, incredibly. So this time by a 231.9, still consistently. Both laps are quicker. That puts him up to the top for the time being, 231.642 as his average for the first half of qualifying here on Richard Tam.
And this is where things get interesting, because with that slide, he's going to have a little bit of extra heat built up in that right rear tire. And so we'll see whether or not that affects him going into these last couple of laps. That extra heat is going to be plaguing him possibly as he comes around. It allows a much cleaner lap, but let's see whether it was faster.
Across the line, it's a 38.7 as far as time. It is quicker. Where is this going to put him now on that average? He is continuing to pick up pace, but the challenge comes here. 232 flat. So at 231.770. He's already a tenth of a mile an hour quicker than Wade Hayes on this average.
Fastest lap of the day so far.
Yeah, first driver to break into the 232 average, so he's definitely driving very quick right now. So here we go, Richard Tam around 4 for the last time as the next driver gets going. He's steaming towards that line. He's got a quick lap looking like under his belt. Is it going to be quicker this time? No, a little bit slower.
38.818, and that works him out too. As we get that one down, looks like we've already got our next driver on track. That's Lyndon Swaby. Had a little bit of a wait on the timing and scoring here.
I think he's going to be comfortably in our fastest so far of 231.8. Same format, Joe, as what Wade Hayes put in. That fourth lap, little faster than the first lap, but not as fast as the middle two.
Yeah, you were spot on, Bill. It seems like everybody's trying to keep that last lap up to speed. And the temperatures aren't helping. It's up 3 more degrees since we last looked. 108 Fahrenheit on the track surface now. Swaby is just on his first timed lap. We see him heading through the south end onto the back stretch. This one looking nice and calm.
Yeah, he's got a very settled setup in these first opening laps while those tires are cold, but it's possible it might get tight in the later laps of this run. It definitely looks pretty snug and forward leaning, so this setup is not going to be loose for him, but that might be trouble later on. But he looks very, very snug exiting 4.
His lowest speed was a 229 out of 4 on that lap. That's good because Richard Tam's lowest speed on his final lap was a 228 through there. And this first one is a 230.6. So unfortunately, that is actually the slowest of the first laps we've seen.
Joe, you talk about top speed and going into the corners. I have the pleasure of working with Richie Hearn, former real-world IndyCar driver. We did a race few weeks ago at Michigan in the Lionheart IndyCar series where they race a fixed setup in these IR18s. He talked about in the real world back in 1989, I was 1998, excuse me, going into a corner at 250 miles an hour at Michigan and hoping that the suspension held. Yeah. 250 going into the corner number 1. That second lap comes in at a 2:31.5.
That's still a little slower than both of the second laps that we've seen, but it is faster than his first one. Swaby not looking too good here on his qualifying.
Yeah, he's going to have to be closer to a 232 on lap 3, and then he's going to have to break 232 on lap 4 in order to break that average. He's right now sitting at an average of 231.128, so he's got 0.5 to make up just to make it into second on Wade Hayes.
I wonder if he's got a little bit more wing cranked into this thing. Because, again, Bill, I'm watching that minimum speed through the corners. It's not going very low. He just must be not getting up to top end on the straights here.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well. He seems to be almost too comfortable through the corners.
Yeah, it's possible he set it up for cooler track temperatures. Remember, our track temperatures are dynamic, so these drivers had no idea what they were going to get into when they came out here. But it looks like he's really stringing it out this time, getting a little bit more rotation through the corners as he comes off of 4. This might be his quickest lap yet.
Can the Pirate do it? He's going to have to steal one away, but no, again, it is slower. So that'll put him last of the 3 that have qualified so far. Vincent Lherbier, the Canadian, is now out on track, getting ready for his first timed lap. He's coming to the line now.
Yeah, so Lherbier, he's been very good in the rest of our races in the NASCAR series and also pretty decent in our road series as well. But we do know that he sort of has a love affair with the Indy cars. So let's see whether or not his team has gotten him a good qualifying setup here as he comes down the backstretch looking for that first lap time.
You talked about having a love affair with the Indy cars. You talk about there are songs for singers, and I can't help but think of Liam Quinn as Lherbier comes out of corner number 4. Who Joe and we covered him in the Skippies for many times in the Absolute Beginner League, where he was a mid-packer at best, but man, you put him in these high-powered, these Delaras, and man, he sings in these babies. What time do we get there for our Canadian driver? Not quite in yet.
The 38.9 on the stopwatch, but we're waiting for the speed to be entered here. Has to be calculated in, not manually, but we've got a little system going behind the scenes. Looks like a 2:31.1. Decent, actually quicker than Wade Hayes' first lap, but slower than Richard Tam's. That'll put him second on the list of first laps.
Yeah, so this is going to be very interesting. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of in the middle of the road right now, so it'll be fascinating to see what happens here. So he crosses the line for his second lap. That's a 2:31.6, so he's actually gaining pace quite efficiently. It looks like he's averaging better than Lyndon Swaby right now. So here we go as he goes down the backstretch for his third lap, rather.
Joe, you mentioned it. You talked about the conversion from the stopwatch to the speedometer. I can't think, other than drag racing, I can't think of another track where things are measured in miles per hour, lap times, compared to just a lapse time.
Well, it's like we talked about, tradition at
It
Indy. It's a huge thing. When you've got 100 years of it, it tends to build up. Speaking of building up, 38.834, so the quickest lap yet here for Lherbier. That one for the Canadian should continue to help him climb, but isn't enough to put him above Wade Hayes. It's a 2:31.7 in terms of miles per hour, but it will not put him above. He is about 0.2 of a mile an hour slower than Wade Hayes. He will absolutely need this one to be faster if he hopes to get up to second.
Sitting third on the list right now.
So here he comes out of 4. Looked like a pretty clean lap, but I'm not sure whether he was actually getting as much out of the track as possible. He's not using all the track distance. So as he crosses the line, it's a 3:38.885. So once again, that fourth lap slower, and that's only going to be a 2:31.452 for his third lap, putting his average at 2:31.486. Good enough for third.
Puts him on third. Puts him on the outside of the first row. No, wait a minute. Inside of row 2. Sorry.
And this
only 2 wide start here.
This might be of the most important qualifying of any of the 9 here. Chris Stouffer, he's a Hoosier. We've seen of Hoosiers who've tried to qualify. It's extra special if you can top the timing sheets. He's already on this first timed lap in that number 46. What has he got for him?
Christopher, a fan favorite races full time in the Lionheart IndyCar series that GSRC broadcasts every Wednesday night. Of course, that is a fixed setup. Coming out of 4. Let's see what he does on his first lap.
He looked very shallow off the corner. He left a wide margin to the wall compared to everybody else, and it's a 38.8 for his first time by. That's going to be decent. Looks like that comes out to a 2:31.535. That's good enough for third for the time being.
Yeah, that's actually a very quick time. That's actually the fastest. That's the fastest first lap we've seen today. So he's definitely on pace for some decent pace here if he keeps doing what he's doing.
Fascinating since he left such a wide margin. And once again,
Yeah.
almost a whole car's width out to the wall. This one across, it goes quicker. Mildly quicker, though, not the leaps and bounds we've seen on some drivers. As he may be more consistent here, it will put him up to the top with a 2:31.9 average speed. Can he keep this up?
2:32.4 is very fast. That's the fastest we've seen. And I'm at this point looking at the top guys to try and break the 2:33 mark.
Yeah, fastest by 0.4 of a mile of an hour. Yeah. 2:32 flat, our fastest one. He is flying.
Well, whatever he's doing out there with all that extra margin, he's leaving. Oh, and it's stopped working now. Slightly slower. The first time we've seen that third lap go slower for any of the drivers. That doesn't bode well.
It's possible that he backed off on that third lap so he could get a faster fourth lap, but it was still a 2:32, a 2:32.192. So that's still the quickest third lap we've seen today. So he's still sitting pretty if he could just finish this lap well.
Very small margins that they deal with here at Indianapolis. Even though it's flat out, it is incredibly difficult to find what you need. And as he comes across the line, it's not faster. It's oh so close to his previous lap. Incredibly consistent across the 4. All of them were 38.7s except for one as he takes it into the inside. And that is going to put him as our new pole sitter, Chris Stouffer, with a 2:32.026 average.
Comfortably up. Tam average was 2:31.79. Stouffer ended at 2:32.02.
0.3 of a mile an hour, considering everyone was dealing with 1 or 2 tenths between each other. That is a serious gauntlet tossed at the ground. Clark Archer, in the meantime, is coming around the north side of the speedway, picking his speed up. Archer is a known oval specialist in this series.
And here he comes across for his first timed lap. And yeah, it looks like these are very interesting lap times that we're seeing as Clark Archer putting in a 2:31.018. So that's decent pace, but not as good as our top 3 so far. So our top 4 actually. So unfortunately, looks like he's looking right now at 5th position unless he increases his pace significantly over the next 3 laps.
Always interesting to me to see how the drivers set up the car over the course of the stint. Some more consistent, some really building it up. Some are a one and done sort of driver, as 38.8 on the board. That's going to give us a time here for lap 2. It's a 2:31.869. He is still last in the qualifying based on average time, unfortunately, with that.
And of course, they have toys to play with. These are open setups, so they can make adjustments as the laps click by. I try to do it. I'm about as effective as like changing a tire with a banana, but these guys know what they're doing. They can actually make adjustments, and whoa, as he really stretches it out. I feel this is a good one. Let's see if he gets a good lap in here.
Only time will tell. It is better. He's increasing his speed. He's getting up there, but unfortunately, I'm not sure that this is going to be enough, because we've seen drivers hit that 38.7 much quicker in the qualifying, unless he is the first one to manage to do his fastest lap the 4th time around. This does not look good. The good news is for Clark Archer, that bumped him up into 3rd on the timing sheets with that 2:31.989.
Give him bonus points for consistency, as he's pretty close.
Yeah, if he could break 232 here, that would actually might push him up over Richard Tam. Let's see what his last time is as he crosses the line.
It's slower. It's about on par with his second lap. And I think that'll either put him in third or fourth. We're waiting for the sheet to update, see what it's going to be. And it looks like it's a 2:31.595 for the final lap. 2:31.617 puts Clark Archer into third. That would be on the front row for the real Indy 500, but they have to do a two-wide start here in iRacing.
Joe, I think this Indiana sky, I think maybe has a bit of cloud cover right now. It looks a little darker on track.
Yeah, we're getting into our final three drivers. Ooh, Medeiros with a very wobbly corner. That's going to slow him down significantly. So air temps 72, track temps at 110. It's gone up 2 degrees since the beginning of this session. But with this cloud cover, this might give them a little bit more grip, but it's definitely making Medeiros loose.
That's probably the scariest moment we've seen yet between any of the qualifiers. North End at least looked a lot more calm. But still, you said it, Adam. I'm not sure this is going to be a good one.
And those of you who are looking at the timing sheet and not seeing a familiar name, Christian Challoner decided not to qualify in Q1 during this session. Like you said, Joe, it was slow, a 2:30.120, so that he's going to have a lot of ground to make up. But Christian Challoner deciding not to participate in Q1 because of his sim racing commitments with his official teams, but he will be in the race and starting in the 10th spot.
So Medeiros coming around for that second timed lap. I believe he was the slowest other than Swaby on that first lap. This one a little bit quicker, but now he's trying to essentially play catch up from here on out.
You know, you talked about Challoner. That may not be the worst thing, to not be distracted about a qualifying setup before the race. I don't know if that's maybe the worst thing that could happen to you.
Remember, this is after they had the initial qualifying, so this is only the top 10 qualifier, top 9 technically,
top 9,
without Challoner. So,
nevertheless,
Challoner,
I don't like shifting gears. I don't want my driver in this setup and then 5 minutes later he's in the race setup.
That one was slower. It's only the second time we've seen that third lap go down in speed. Jonathan is looking like he might be our 9th driver if things don't shape up. It was a 2:31.726 that time by, with the top runners hitting 2:32s on their third lap.
Drive into the sun.
See the sunshine back out, and the track temperature did not go down over that cloud cover. Didn't seem to help Jonathan Medeiros as he crosses the line. It is not faster once again on his 4th lap. So that pretty much puts the nail in the coffin, and he will find himself back at the back of the qualifiers so far with 7th.
Yeah, I think it was that first lap that really set him up for some unfortunate drives right now. So Jonathan Medeiros going to end up in that 7th spot. Next up is Austin Espedy. He is a iRacing IndyCar regular and very quick on track for sure.
Sometimes you get these specialists out in the majors, the drivers that know how to drive the car and track combination. Let's see how they fare against the best in the world, quite literally the best in the world competing here in the majors. Espedy, another one leaving a little bit of margin on those corner exits.
38.82 is a pretty decent first lap. We saw that that was about the time of Medeiros' third lap, so that was a 2:31.845 for his first lap. And that's the fastest lap we've seen today for a first lap, so that jumps him up to 2nd on average time already.
We've seen this before, though. Some drivers seem to use up their stuff early on if they start out fast. Does Espedy have a trick up his sleeve? He's coming down for that second timed lap. 38.819 for the first one. 38.743. So about a 10th quicker, a little less than a 10th quicker out on track in terms of miles per hour. That comes out to 2:32.3 That is just below the quickest lap of Stouffer, but that's actually good enough to put his average on the top spot.
If he keeps this up, he'll have a little bit of a cushion for that fourth lap.
And he's only up top by 5/100ths of a mile an hour, so he's got to keep being consistent, but he's hitting his lines very well, and that car looking like it's settling in even more here, but that doesn't mean it's faster. Let's find out what the time is.
It's quicker again. Let's see. It's going to come out to the miles per hour at 232.474. That puts his average at 232.206, 0.2 of a mile an hour faster than Stouffer. The real tail of the tape will come on this fourth lap as he comes through the north end of the racetrack.
He had a really good fourth lap, so he's going to have to really get one here.
And he got a little bit loose through 1 and 2, so let's see how this fourth lap does him. He's going to move towards the middle of the track here, and let's see what the time does.
Still slower than lap 2 and 3. That's been pretty much what we've seen from just about everybody. Slides it to a halt there in the infield, but it's at 231.971. He is our new pole sitter, Austin Hespedy. Let's see who we got out last. It's gonna be none other than Liam Quinn, back-to-back Indy 500 winner here in the majors, and specifically on the Americas end. The kinetic driver has immense pressure underneath him to try and perform here in the qualifying as well.
Well, especially because his teammate won the European region Indy 500, so he's definitely under pressure to try and have a similar result. He's one who's using all of the track, getting all the way to that outside wall. So let's see what his first time is as he crosses the line.
38.8 is a pretty good first run. That's going to be a 231.553. That actually is about what Stouffer is doing, just about almost exactly what Stouffer was doing, about a 200th of a mile an hour difference between himself and Chris on that first timed lap.
Yeah, Stouffer looked very good on his second lap. Liam Quinn looking very good as well. It is faster, 38.73, so that works out to a 232.384. So that is a very fast lap. That's not our quickest today, but it is very quick.
Slots him up to row 2, an average of 231.968. He's got a couple tenths to try and make up to be ahead of Hespedy and Stouffer. It's not impossible, but it's going to take a pretty beautiful run here for the two-time champion. As he comes down to the line, is this going to be quicker? He was really pushing it out to the wall out of 4. It is faster, 38.727.
And he's been the fastest driver in practices and qualifying over the course of the week. So Liam Quinn looks like he missed the apex just a little bit there, getting very wide through 1 and 2. So this lap might not be faster, but the last one was a 232.396. Still not the fastest third lap we've seen, but it's good enough for second at the moment. This is going to have to be one quick lap. He's getting a little bit of cloud cover as he comes through 4.
Temperature's still rising. It's 111 degrees Fahrenheit on the track now. Who is going to be on the pole today? Is it going to be Hespedy or is it going to be Quinn? It's not faster. He fell victim to the same thing everybody else did. It's a 232.090, which means he's only good enough for second. And Austin Hespedy is going to be your pole sitter today for the Majors Indy 500. What a run there for Austin Hespedy. That's going to take us to a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We've got the actual Indy 500 coming up here for the majors. It'll be 200 laps here around the legendary speedway. Don't go away. Our pre-race show will be here in just a moment. Welcome to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, home of the Indianapolis 500. And here at the majors, we try to follow tradition as best we can. As such, we ask that you please rise and join us in the singing of Back Home Again in Indiana.
Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still burning bright through the sycamores for me. The new mown hay sends all its fragrance through the fields I used to roam. When I dream about the moonlight on the Wabash, how I long for my Indiana home.
Thank you very much. Once again, Hans Millowa singing the wonderful tune by James Hanley. As we get ready to watch the world's greatest spectacle in racing. Adam, this is still a points race, and that this is still a championship. Excuse me, Bill holding those championship points in his hands right now. What is the situation that we're facing for that?
Well, we'll bring those up to you right now, and we'll look at that. We see those pro drivers up there. Now, he has been perfect. Kristen Challoner, 5 for 5. That's how you get 1,500 points when you get 300 per race. He has really distanced himself. A lot of veterans behind him. Travis Warling, Wade Hayes, that we saw in the quick 9 there, the fast 9 qualifying that we just brought you, sitting down in third. A veteran, Steve Driscoll, and former champion, Lionel Little Train Callisto, sitting in fifth. Adam, what about the team championships?
Yeah, the teams are actually really tight right now. You have Kinetic Americas up ahead by 557 points over Unorthodox Motorsports, and only another about 530 points behind is Dog Bear Red. You may say, wow, 500 points seems like a lot, but when you're earning 300 points for victory around here, those points can add up very quickly. Then it's only 300-ish points back to Dog Bear White, with only about 20 points back to Sector 5 Racing. All of these teams are well within range of winning the championship if any of these teams should have massive problems in the latter half of this season, Joe.
Absolutely. And I believe we've got one more point set from Bill, one that's near and dear to his heart. It's the Legends points.
Originally called the Drivers Who Shared the Earth with Jimi Hendrix, Janet Joplin, and Jim Morrison, but that was too long, so it's simply the Legends. When I looked at this, it's the same old guys, literally the same old guys up here. Now, how about this, though? Brian Barnes sitting at the top of this. He sits sixth overall, though, so not only in the hunt for the Legends Championship, but still within shouting distance of the overall win. Boy, that would be something great for that driver. Rob Hall sits 12th overall, and then you have the rest of these guys. Bob, the Salami Beltrami down there in third, Kevin Hill, and Brian Bennett, all veterans of the Legends standings.
I guess Brian Barnes' proof that young age and fervor is still no match for old age and treachery. As we now take a look at today's race details as well, going through what we've got for today's event, just in case you've never heard of the Indy 500, which is still possible. We are racing in the IR18, of course, and it's got that new windshield on it, that windscreen. 200 laps makes up the 500 miles in today's race. The setups are open, as it always is, here in the majors. Now, that 26 incident limit, that is actually 40 incidents that they are limited to in this series. No, excuse me, it is 26 rather. Just double checking that, and I see that our graphic is correct. 26, they will be disqualified. They do not get a stop and go anywhere before that, but if you're racking up 26 incidents, I'll kind of be amazed that you're still running here today.
Joe, 26 or 40 really doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, it really doesn't. And they do have a spare car. It's about the only way they could get close to that 26 incident limit. So if they wreck, they have one sitting in the garage waiting for them, which hopefully they won't need to go to that, because right now they're heading towards their actual cars that they're going to be racing here today, because the warm-up session is now over. So the grid is now set here for today's race. The Indy 500 here for the majors is going to have Austin Espedy, who who we just saw get the pole, with Liam Quinn going to try to take win number 3, a record win number 3 in a row, with Christopher starting behind him in third. Richard Tam will start in P4. Then it's Clark Archer in 5th position, followed by Wade Hayes in the 6th spot. Vincent Leherbier managed to put it in 7th with that top 9 qualifying. Lennon Swaby was 8th, and Jonathan Medeiros, the last to qualify for the top 9, will be up there on the inside of row 5. Christian Challoner, Adam, will round out our top 10.
That's right, with Samuel Roush in 11th spot. Then Travis Warling's going to start off in 12th. That's actually going to be very interesting to see him right in behind Christian Challoner for the start of this race. Samuel Harris in 13th, with Alessandro Daldone in 14th. Michael Peters is going to start off 15th today, with Eric Smith starting off 16th. Brian Bennick all the way back in 17th alongside Steve Driscoll in 18th, with Michael Chin and Matt Sandell rounding out your top 20.
Black Jackets Kevin Hill. Blake Reynolds wraps up number 20, the 22nd spot. Brian McGreevy in 23rd, with Little Train Lionel Kalisto in 24th. Quarter century mark, that's Richard McCure. Nick Kuhn and Adam Halleck go 26th and 27th. Wayne Hutchison in 28th, 29th and 30th. Bob Beltrami and Josh Cully. Joe?
Rob Gall will start off the last of the drivers here in the top split. Ryan Toma, 32nd, with David Hall in 33rd. And, well, here you go, Brian Barnes, the last on the field of the 34, interestingly, that we have today. Breaking a little bit of Indy tradition there, but it's close enough that we'll be able to deal with it. Should be a fun time for all 34 involved as we watch them now come down the backstretch. I have to imagine, Adam, there have got to be at least some nerves inside these cockpits right now.
Many, many nerves, especially as we're lining up to go. And this, I mean, you may think that the pace lap is very long, but it's not. They're about to hit turns 3 and 4, and once they get through there, they line up for the start, which is halfway down the start-finish straight and across that line of bricks.
Now, as always, this race does raise money for charity, as they do for each race in the majors. This time it's for SARGE'S Place, which helps veterans, and they have raised, this is one of the highest numbers I've seen from them in a while, $150 for this race. I guess qualifying was very important. For those not familiar with the majors, they raise the money by asking drivers who want to qualify a second time to pay to do so. All that money from that go toward the charity of choice for each race. SARGE'S Place, of course, the chosen charity for this round. As Espedy follows behind our pace car, the Mustang peels in, and Espedy is off right away. There is no way. Green flag is out for the Majors Indy 500. It's a good jump down and across the yard of bricks, and Liam Quinn is immediately going to slot into second place. In fact, many of the top cars quickly fall into line. This is a very orderly start.
Yeah, Espedy's teammate Liam Quinn, this must have been coordinated for them to try and get going, but look at this, Chris Stouffer up the inside already, and Richard Tam's going to try and follow him through on that bottom side. Austin Espedy trying to decide where to go. He's going to stay on that high side, so this allows Stouffer to get to the bottom side through 3 and 4. Remember, this is the first lap of a 200-lap race, so don't expect these guys to be throwing blocks anytime soon.
And on the high side of Richard Tam is going to rebuff him. Richard falls back into third once again, but another slipstream up in the front allows Espedy to go to the underside. We already got a caution here on lap 1. I see Nick Kuhn involved. Ooh, a number of drivers needing their spare car already. Kuhn, I mentioned. Hutchison. Rob Gall as well, it looks like.
Richard McClure as well.
The fun one to watch might be Little Train Kalisto as he goes for a ride on this one.
Brian McGreevy also ended up sliding through the pits, so not only is he going to have to take a tow, he's also going to have to serve a penalty for speeding in the pit lane under yellow.
Yeah, and this actually started with McGreevy and Kalisto. They were the first two to make contact. McClure, Kuhn, and Halleck wind up getting collected in it. Actually, I think Halleck might sneak through it here. Well, cars just zipping everywhere.
Fun on board will be from Adam Halleck, indeed, car number 36. He went around and I believe under some cars.
Yeah, we're going to see it right here. Adam Halleck is going to look at him do this. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Jeez.
It was like a ballet over top of him. That was Kalisto doing literal barrel rolls up and over his car.
That's about
Halleck
6.
probably had the most amazing view of anybody in this race.
He had one of those live driver cams. I bet you he would have clunked down in his seat there to make sure he didn't get hit in the head.
Watch it one more time from off board.
Oh, look at that. They got held up significantly. It looked like a car was going to head to the pits there. And I think that's what held everyone up. They had no idea. I mean, you wouldn't expect someone to head to the pits on the first lap. So Lionel Kalisto had to back out of it, and that's what held everyone up and caused the caution.
Kalisto just barely avoiding the pit entry barrier, unfortunately. Halleck is coming in, so maybe he did get a little bit of damage from that. Sad to see Wayne Hutchison taking a very mangled car down the lane. I also see Cully, Beltrami coming down for some repairs. Rob Gall is in, and David Hall. That's all pretty much the names that we mentioned involved.
These guys coming in might just be topping off to get that one extra lap of fuel. They were back of the pack. They really have not much to lose.
And one of the talking points before we came live here, Adam, was how this race is going to play out in terms of yellows. Just like the real race, it's kind of decides your strategy is when those cautions fly.
Yeah, it definitely does. And with no lap cars, the lights are already off. So that means that we're going to get going very shortly here. But that was a very big wreck. That was 23rd on back. So that was 11 cars that decided to take pit stops after all of that. Only 3 cars, well, 5 cars having major damage. But you're right, that pit strategy is going to come into play. And we'll have plenty of time here in this 200 lap race to talk about how fuel comes into play around here. And we'll definitely talk about the weather as well, because that will have a major factor on when these guys pit.
Let's restart as we take a look at the temperatures. It's back to 108 compared to the 111 we saw at the end of the qualifying. Going to have Espedy up at the front, Stouffer behind him. Quinn restarts third, then it's Tam fourth, and Hayes in P5. Already, look at them lining up around that outside wall, wanting to cover it off, making sure nobody gets the shot past them. Pace car is in. There goes Austin Espedy. Green flag is out once again for our first restart. Espedy with a good jump. In fact, the top 5 look relatively spread out.
And that just comes from not being able to predict Austin's starting point. But I think some of these guys are going to get wise to his going as soon as the pace car pulls away. But look at this. Chris Stouffer has quite a run as he comes off of 2. He's going to look to the bottom side and try and make this move here on the back stretch. This is going to allow Austin to slot in behind him, and they can start doing some slingshot moves to try and gain some time on the cars behind. But Austin also might be dropping back to his teammate Liam Quinn.
Keep in mind, you're a sitting duck if you are out in front on a restart. You might be able to. Here's this. You might be able to get it back out of 4 at the finish line. But man, they get you on the back straight every time. And sure enough, Espedy goes ahead and gets credit with leading that lap.
Just behind him, Stouffer slots down in, and now the top 6 rather, all file in together. They're going to be joined by a 7th. Looks like that is actually Christian Challoner. And Challoner's got a head of steam. You can see him off the back. He's ducking down low, looking for one on Archer. Is now up to the top. Here goes Quinn for the lead. Quinn's going to get 2 cars in 1.
Yeah, so Quinn jumping over Stouffer and Austin at that point. So look at these guys. We saw a lot of these kinds of moves early on in the European race, but these guys look a little bit more kind as we see a car dropping to the pits there. That is going to be Eric Smith dropping to the pits, but these top 9 have broken away from the bottom, from the rest of the pack, and they're free and clear by about 3 seconds.
Smith likely to go a lap down from that pit stop. He could still yet get the lap back, but we don't have lucky dogs here since this is IndyCar racing. Quinn going back around once again with the same move as last time, except only had Espedy to try and sneak through this time around. Christian Challoner already up to P5. He is the reigning champion from the European race last season. Comes over to the Americas, already showing strong. And down to the inside, it looks like Quinn's going to be replaced by Austin once more.
Adam, I think we're going to see 2 kinds of racing today. We're going to see this jockeying for position early on when the rubber is friendly. But then when the tires start to wear out, as we get longer into a stint, you're going to see a little more of an organized parade.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be the case as we see Liam Quinn dropping to the bottom side of Austin and Espedy here. And they're just trying to keep their pace up because actually doing those draft passes does increase their pace. But they also have to be careful of Chris Stouffer, who's looking on from behind them, because those 2 teammates up ahead could possibly get a little bit complicated if Chris gets up into them as well. So here comes Christian Challoner looking to the inside of Chris Stouffer. Christian, he wants to get up there to the lead and just ride around at the top as well.
That'll move him into third. Couldn't quite overtake his teammate Quinn. As they come around off of turn 2 onto the backstretch one more time. Quinn already with incredible speed difference to Ospen Espedy. These two have been the main swappers up at the top of the field these last few laps. Stouffer's fallen back to fourth since Challoner has taken that over. Ahead of him on the podium spots. Onto the front stretch. We're going to swap around one more time. Yes, indeed, we are.
Joe just did the Fast 9 in qualifying, and we wondered, is it important? Well, look at that lead train. There's 9 drivers in it. The only one that wasn't in the Fast 9 is Christian Challoner, who started in the 10th position. So who's missing? Well, Lyndon Swaby is back in 11th position. But basically, all the guys we covered in qualifying are in the front group.
Here's an interesting note, though. Second group being led by, well, Blake Reynolds right now. He's pulling a bit of the same game with Sam Roush. So we saw the leaders swap around once again. It's Quinn up at the front. This is a change for 9th between Roush and Reynolds. Reynolds, one of the previous champions in this series. Season champion, I should say.
Yeah, the trouble with this, though, is that they're actually not gaining time to the guys up ahead of them as they do these swaps. And I think it's just because the guys up ahead of them are doing the swaps a little bit better, so they're actually losing a little bit of time here, about a 0.15 per lap on the guys up ahead. So they're a little bit out of touch, and they're going to be hoping for another caution here.
Switch around once again. I can tell you, not really any drama up front other than that same swap happening between Quinn and Espedy, exactly how we've been seeing it all race long. No, Bill, I almost feel like if they really wanted to challenge the drivers, they should make them do the double like anybody in real life wants to, and have the Coke 600 right after this, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I'd cover both.
Yeah, as long as we get a couple different broadcast companies to do it. You know, it's interesting. Let's talk about hard chargers. The leader of the second group, Blake Reynolds, from 22nd to 9th. Well, you would think that would be it, but no. You go back to Brian Barnes, who's back in, where is Brian? He's back, I think, about, there you go, in 19th spot. Leading that third group, and he is up from 34th. I guess it would be last.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the last spot. Brian up quite a few positions here, leading another train. We're starting to see a pattern. It just looks like a collection of cars come together. We're watching Nick Kuhn just behind him, but Nick's going to elect to stay back there. This is the patient racing you guys were just talking about, that seems like a few in the mid-pack aren't as concerned about trying to get up front, just want to get the laps in.
Yeah, Joe, and this is definitely, it's fuel-saving time for a lot of these drivers. They're thinking long-term about this, and as we see a couple drivers get extremely defensive there in the background, but you can do about 32 to 33 laps saving fuel in traffic around here, and if you're very, very lucky, you can do 36 laps, but that's very unlikely. So expect 32 or 33 laps for these guys who are sitting and riding behind in the back of these packs here. But the guys up front, they can only do 29 to 30 laps on fuel, otherwise they have to come into the pits. So sitting pretty behind folks might be the best strategy here, but it looks like Liam Quinn and Austin Espedy are thinking about splitting this race into a couple of more stints here.
I wonder if maybe the early caution has them thinking that we're going to get some more of them as we watch the top 4 breakaway at this point. Quinn, Espedy, Challoner, and Stouffer have pulled about a half second ahead of Wade Hayes back in 5th. Now he's still within reach that he could get into this thing. There you can see the back 3 of this group still clinging on.
I also want to say that if you want to split this race into 6 stops, the pit lane window has opened for you to take your first pit stop. That'll be a very early pit stop, though, considering we're only halfway through a fuel run for these guys.
Hopping on board with Stouffer. I also think pitting under green this early seems like an incredibly risky strategy. So I don't know that we'll have anybody really trying for that.
You know, Joe, it is too early to do that, but I want to follow up a little bit about what it is pitting here at Indianapolis. This is one of those tracks where you can think of it like a road course. If you pit from the lead or near the lead, you can make your stop and still not go a lap down. And that changes up everything. If you pit early, you don't have to worry about being caught out by a yellow because you'll cycle to the front. If you go a lap down, yeah, you won't lose your lap, but you'll be at the back of the pack. So there's some interesting stuff. But man, I don't think you want to be doing that only with lap 15 under your belt.
And you especially don't want to do that without a partner. You're going to need someone to do draft slingshots with. Otherwise, you're going to be losing significant time to the folks up ahead of you. For example, Jonathan Medeiros down in that 8th position. He has fallen away significantly from this lead pack. He's doing about 42.3s right now, whereas the leaders up ahead are doing 41 flats. So Medeiros has fallen off the back of this group, and he's almost a second and a half slower.
Adam? Yellows are going to play a factor. I know you looked into the other pro splits in the other divisions, in the other regions. What did you find out? How do those play out?
Well, most of them were very different than this one. The International had a couple of cautions at the beginning of the race, which led to a long green flag run. European had a lot of cautions, which meant that strategy didn't have to play until the very last bit of the race. But what we did notice when we were watching those was that the undercut is a big thing. So you want to pit before the drivers who you're competing with. So expect these drivers to be thinking about that as they close in on the end of this stint. We're about a third of the way through on 17 laps on these tires here.
Fresh tires beat light fuel then is what you're saying.
Absolutely every day of the week.
This has been the same swap over and over. Rinse, wash, repeat as they come through 3 and 4. Interesting to note that behind them, there was a bit of battling between Archer and Le Herbier. Archer has actually picked up pace and has caught up to the back of Wade Hayes now. So I think Clark has got his car hooked up late in a run. We've been green for about 14 laps as he almost made contact just now. We didn't see it on screen, but he and Wade Hayes were inches away. Let's take another look at this. Speaking of being risky early.
Yeah, we're going to see it right here. He gets very, very close. Almost makes contact with that right rear. That's as close as you want to be at 230 miles an hour down the straights. One other thing to note, Joe, is that this is the hottest temperatures we have seen in the majors Indy 500s in any of the regions. It is 117 degrees on track. That's 47 degrees Celsius for those of you across the pond. This is a toasty track, and that's what's leading to these guys being so strung out. That top line cannot build momentum because it burns up the right front tire too much, and you get too tight exiting the corner. And
That was Espedy and Stouffer who both hit the wall at the exact same time out of 2.
Their tires have hit the cliff on lap 19.
Wow, that was sudden. Just coming off the corner, massive amounts of understeer. Watch the second and fourth cars in line as they head onto the backstretch, just drift up. Amazingly, they've not lost too much. Almost synchronized as they also got overtaken in the exact same fashion.
Yeah, the real question is going to be, they're going to be debating with their team and their managers as to whether or not to use their fast repair right now. It's not going to be the best idea if we get a lot more cautions than if you get involved with one, but if you're losing too much pace, then you might want to do it. If you're losing too much track position as well. So we're going to see whether or not more drivers have similar issues today.
You know, you talked about that. The man who is the king of saving fast repairs is Lionel Kalisto, but he had to use his early on because he was caught in that first lap incident.
That's a good point. I'm not sure how things are going to look for him come the end of the race. You see the number 2 machine, those traditional colors, continuing on around. What that contact with the wall has done with the battle in the front has honestly backed Stouffer up into both Hayes and Le Herbier. So this has now become a battle for the top 5. You see them on screen on the north end of the track.
Yeah, Stouffer's car looks to be handling fairly decently, so I don't think he collected too much damage from that. He's probably definitely feeling it in the toe of that car. Wade Hayes is going to make the pass, but Stouffer really was a sitting duck in that situation where Le Herbier is too far back. But if Stouffer can stay out with that damage, and especially if he could just ride around in those top 10 positions, he's going to want to do that. But that car is looking mighty tight.
I want to drop
Yeah.
us back to ninth position, car 013. This is Sam Roush. Look who's behind him. Here comes Blake Reynolds. Remember, Reynolds was leading that train, that second train? Well, he's left them behind, and now he's looking to get around Roush, and he has also Medeiros up in his sights as well in eighth.
I think Adam pointed out Medeiros dropping back earlier. These three could potentially work together. I almost wonder more because it seems as though Roush started to pull away and then Reynolds latched onto the back of him, being carried forward. Sam Harris is the car behind, about 7/10 back. You might be able to feel something in that car behind them. Ooh, way up high there. Reynolds coming off at turn 2.
And one of the ways that these drivers can compensate for the different feels that their car has is using a weight jacker. This adjusts the location of a block of weights on a track in the middle of the car, and you can move it forward or backward, and that can adjust the feel of the car, whether tight or loose. But the danger is if you move it too far in one direction, it can break the contact patch of the tires in the other direction because of you have too much weight going either to the front or the rear. And so most of the time through these runs, they're going to be putting the weight jacker to the front to try and get a little bit more weight off of those rear tires so that they can get a little bit more of a rotation through the corner. But if you do that too much, you'll break loose and fly into the wall like we saw with Danica Patrick in 2018.
So 34 cars is a lot to keep track of, and we can only show so much on screen as we go. If you're not seeing your favorite driver, make sure and check out gsrc.tv, where we've got live timing and scoring, so you can keep track of every driver on the circuit at the same time and follow the progress of your favorite driver. Challenger still chasing Liam Quinn. It is the battle of the Titans, it turns out. Both drivers having won last year, one in the Americas region, one in the European region, and both chasing interesting stats today. Christian looking to keep up that perfect record so far he's got this season, while Liam Quinn is looking to be the first in Majors history to get a three-peat of Indy 500 victories.
All right, guys, we are approaching green flag pit stops here. We are about 5 laps away, so start to expect to see guys deciding to come in about 4 laps time. That's when they're going to want to start making their pit stops. And remember, with the undercut being so effective and these high temperatures on track today, expect to see guys come into the pits earlier than we think.
And as a commentator, it's kind of hard because they get to play around with the boost. So I look at guys like Blake Reynolds and I say, well, man, that guy's got a car. But for all I know is he's running at a richer mix than some of the guys that he's passing as he works his way around Sam Roush right now. So it's really hard to get a good take on what's going on. For all I know, these other guys are saving fuel that he's passed.
He's got a very different line than those around him so far through the corners. A lot more willing to flirt with the wall on the exit compared to guys like Medeiros. Then we saw Jonathan struggle with that as well in the qualifying, the Fast 9. Seems like he hasn't. Oh, and look at that. He was very slow through one. Reynolds sneaking through the inside of the corner.
Oh, Reynolds set that up all the way back before one. He went in super late into the corner as he makes his way past Chris Stouffer as well. Chris has fallen off from the lead and has now dropped all the way back into the 8th spot. So Blake Reynolds moving his way up there. He has saved his tires for this long run and is now smoking ahead.
It's up to 7th now, but he's got about 1.2 seconds to get up to Wade Hayes. He's got a ways to go before he can do something there. Stouffer, and we didn't see it on screen, but Stouffer and Medeiros went side by side, and that caused Jonathan to have to check up in turn 1. See this a lot in the real world too, Bill, when drivers try to go too wide through, especially turn 1 here.
A little bit of Takuma Sato there, a little bit with the final lap at Indy.
Yeah. I think there was some regret in that move once he hit the middle of the corner.
Yeah.
At least they both came out the other side, and we keep racing under green. The highest driver to have pitted under that first caution is Adam Halleck, one of the ones, not sure if he took his free repair or not, but was sort of involved in the wreck.
Yeah, and Adam is actually in a very interesting position because he has about 2 laps newer tires than the drivers at the lead of the race. So what he's going to have to do in this particular situation is he's going to have to go till the end of his fuel window in order to make his strategy effective. Because if he pits with these other guys, then he's going to have lost the advantage of that early pit stop, unless he was concerned about his tire wear or needed that fast repair. If he needed that fast repair, then in that case, then he's going to pit with the rest of the guys for sure.
We need to watch the 36 work his way around. Up at the front, Quinn's starting to pull away from Challenger, and it's P3 that is getting closer. Archer, who I mentioned was at the back, you talked about Blake saving his tires. I wonder if we're seeing the same thing, and here we go. Pit stops. That's Espedy.
Adam, this is actually earlier than I even expected, because we had yellow flags, and they're pitting on lap 31.
Yeah, so this is lap 31, so the yellow flags save you about 2 to 3 laps of fuel, so this is actually right on for a leader of the race, with him spending so much fuel at the front. So this is him hitting his box, and his timing's right. Let's see whether he gets that fast repair. Oh, he misses his box a little bit. That's going to be costly, especially with 8-second pit stops.
We were watching Michael Chin at the time, who did hit his stall. Espedy down off the jacks. 9.3 seconds stop. This is gonna hurt when he gets back out. And Liam Quinn is in.
His teammate the next lap comes into the pit lane, so that's the 32-lap stint. So he went a little bit longer on the tires there, and on the fuel there. So he's going to be better set. Let's see whether or not he's able to hit his box. Track temperature only going up 118 now, so it's really hard to get into these concrete boxes.
This one is solid. He hits it cleanly. We've also had Stouffer in with him. So that's another of our top drivers pitting a little bit early. Quinn is back out.
Espedy just going into corner number 2 right now. I don't think he's going to be able to get Quinn.
Clark Archer also pitting. Quinn coming back out in 24th. Espedy's just getting onto the backstretch. While Quinn does have to pick up momentum, you're right. Look at the gap there on screen. That is very wide.
Price to pay when you mix your box.
And big contact between Blake Reynolds and Michael Chin, who just came out of the pit lane. Blake Reynolds actually got into the outside wall. Michael Chin had to check up, and he has some front wing damage now.
Going to take a glance at the replay. Here's Chin on screen in the bright yellow and orange machine.
It's coming off of turns 1 and 2 here. We're going to see it. Things get very sketchy here for Blake Reynolds, and Michael Chin, just coming with the head of steam, has nowhere to go.
So as he comes out of 2. Oh, ooh. Man, things happen so fast here. It's a good thing that did not wind up worse. Meanwhile, pit stops are happening for our leaders. Saw Challenger in. Looks like we've also got L'Herbier. Challenger back out already. Highest pitter currently still Halleck, but again, he's on a little bit of a different sequence.
So Christian Challenger's going to come out. He's going to feed out right ahead of Liam Quinn. Liam with a decent head of steam, but I don't think he's going to catch him before he goes to 3 and 4. The undercut does usually work here, and it has worked again. Liam Quinn able to retain that position over Christian Challenger. He gets by going into 3 and 4, so the undercut working still in effect today.
Come out just together, and we're waiting for more cars to cycle through on the pit stops. I think the person with the biggest fuel tank is Steve Driscoll. He's still going on lap 35 without a stop yet. He's naturally our leader, but he's got to come in this time, I would think.
So it's possible for him to go 36 laps, but you're right. Yes, he's going to come in this time. So he manages to make it quite a bit farther than the other guys, and that may help him towards the end of the race.
Caution!
But it won't look like it'll help. Oh boy, this changes everything.
It's McClure in the 81.
Entering pit lane, he was closing in on Josh Cully. This will be a good onboard from the car that actually went into the wall, because you'll see the closing rate as Meteor
Oh,
starts to come in and McCulley's car gets really big, and then he turns it and puts it in the wall.
and comes
and
back out on track. That's what
yeah,
caused the caution.
the car hadn't bounced the way it did.
Watch
He
how hot
would've-
he comes in really hot.
Yeah, I think he panicked, stamped the brakes. Unfortunately, that was the end of that
Okay.
car.
This is what I talked about as far as pit stops go. This is good for those guys that came in early, did not go a lap down. Hollick is out there, our leader right now, but he'll cycle around to the back. On a smaller oval, this will be great for Hollick and Hutchinson and Gall who haven't come in yet.
Challoner is going to inherit the lead once they come and pit.
And
He is ahead of Liam Quinn and Espedy.
And Soup, I still think it's good for those guys out front, even when they do pit, because what that means is that they're going to have a couple laps of fuel on the rest of the guys, and they're still going to be bunched up with them. So it means they don't lose any time from having taken those earlier pit stops, but that means they have a lot more fuel in the tank.
And 4 or 5 lap fresher tires,
Yeah, exactly.
which I know doesn't seem like a lot, but they're 4 or 5 lap fresher tires every lap. That makes sense.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. As we wait for them to catch the pace car here, the leader's now just behind that Mustang. Everybody else still playing catch up. They got pretty spread apart under that run. It's a long green flag take.
I do want to report Steve Driscoll, who came into the pits from the lead of the race at that point, he has filtered out to 12th position because of when the caution fell. So unfortunately, that did not work out well for him.
Actually,
Well,
he
on
was
the
lower
other
than 12.
Right. On the other hand, if he would have pitted under a full green, he probably would have been a lot farther back. So he came in right when the field was slowing down, so it probably came out okay for him as he's coming in again.
Quite a few drivers coming in again.
Yeah. Let's see, I see Espedy in again. Looks like Quinn and Challoner in again. I did not expect this.
Oh, jeez.
Well, it's a really hot track out there today, and fresh tires have been very important. Driscoll misses his box again, unfortunately, so a lot of these drivers really needing those fresh tires. They know they saw the pace difference when they got out there, and they realized the importance of that today.
Drivers who stayed out: Archer, Hayes, Cully, Reynolds, Bennett, Swaby, and others. So a very mixed bag in terms of strategy. We'll try to dissect this. We'll be back in just a moment here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll bring you back with the next green flag restart here in the Majors Indy 500. welcome back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We're getting ready to restart on lap 40 with Clark Archer leading the field in the Majors Indy 500. Pace car is in, and Archer is off. It's a good start for him. Gets a decent jump over Wade Hayes, but how likely is he to keep that? We'll see once he gets to the backstretch. Hayes actually a little bit under attack from Blake Reynolds there on the restart. Worth noting, poor Sam Harris seemed to have had some sort of hardware failure. His car had a weird veer into the wall under caution, and that car is now in pit lane.
So, Adam, we were talking that Adam Hollick in 8th, who's about to be passed by Liam Quinn right now, those are the guys that have fresh tires, but I guess we kind of use that term loosely. It's only like 3 or 4 laps fresher than the guys in front, but I guess it matters.
It does matter as we're watching Clark Archer being hounded by Blake Reynolds, who had that contact and that scary moment. Here comes Wade Hayes trying to look on, trying to decide where to go. He's not going to take it 3 wide this early in the race. He's going to dive to the inside of Blake Reynolds, rather, is going to dive to the inside of Clark Archer and take that position away. But yeah, the guys came in for fresh tires, but also for fuel. And that's because at that exact moment, with those pit stops being done, they can split this race into 5 stops. So that means that they're going to be able to split this race into 5 equal sections and should be okay, but they're going to have to save a little bit of fuel. So battling for the lead is not what they want to do. And that's probably another reason why they decided to take the pit stop when they did.
Wait, this is aggressive fighting up at the top that we're seeing between Reynolds and Archer. And now we are going to go 3 wide for the lead. Here comes Wade Hayes. This is not going to last into the first corner. Something's got to give. And that game of chicken is won by Archer.
Blake Reynolds decided to give on the outside, but he kept the momentum going. So Wade Hayes, even though he took it 3 wide, he's going to lose all that momentum and drop back to the 3rd position. Clark Archer has decided he wants to lead this race. He's not going to let people by. Now we've got Eric Smith, a lapped car, who's going to be trying to get by Wade Hayes on the inside. Remember that the lap cars do not get a waiver round in this series. They don't get the lucky dog. So they have to try and fight the leaders for their lap back. Oh man, Blake Reynolds getting squeezed to the top by Clark Archer.
We've seen that before here since this restart. And he's going to have the inside down into turn 1. He's going to get the lead away from Clark Archer now. Wade Hayes slots into line. Smith watching all this, wanting to be rid of this mess so that he can just get his lap back. Don't count out Lionel Callisto as well. He is now up into the clear air in this front group, and he's actually just going to... Oh, no, excuse me. Callisto's a lap down here.
Yes, he's in the same battle here with Smith.
Yeah, Callisto and Smith are a lap down. They were coming into the pit stops around the same time as our leaders when that caution came out, so they got trapped a lap down, unfortunately. So that's Callisto trying to go around Hayes. Hayes is just trapped in a lapped car sandwich right now, and he can't really do much at this moment.
Leaders don't want to be fighting with these guys too much either.
Smith did get his lap out, and let's include Callisto in that as well. They're right back in it. There's still plenty of time for them to win this thing. The car clearly is quick. So this battle is important. You might think, well, what's that lap car doing up there racing with the leaders? This is he's put in a lot of practice time. He wants that spot, and I think he's got a shot at it. We're talking about the yellow car there of Eric Smith. Oh, my goodness.
Here's an opportunity for Callisto. He's going to go by Wade Hayes and Smith. Clark Archer trying to go around the outside of Blake Reynolds as they go into 1 and 2. We're going to have 2 side-by-side moments here. Blake Reynolds backs out of it, and Eric Smith backs out of it, but he's actually going to carry a little bit of speed through and try and go on the inside of the inner loop here of on Callisto. Going to get that job done? No, he has to back out of it again. He's getting too tight on that bottom side.
We got a big wreck behind them. Looks like Halleck is involved in that one, unfortunately, for the second
Austin
time.
Espedy as well, and Espedy twice.
It's
Swaby also. This was between Swaby and Espedy? No, it was...
I think Stouffer gets into the back of the blue car, and that's what causes it. Then Halleck gets hit by Espedy.
Yeah, so, yeah, that was Stouffer, unfortunately, who got into the back of Espedy there.
On board with Swaby, but let's look at this and watch it with Swaby as well.
Whoa.
Car number 100 would be Swaby.
Yeah.
He's last to the scene.
He basically just kind of got caught up in it innocently here. And you can see it coming for a long time. It just,
Yep.
so much is happening.
And he thought it was going to clean up to the inside. That's why he stayed in the throttle, but unfortunately it did not. And he then ended up running into the side of his teammates. So that's really unfortunate for those kinetic drivers. And that puts them... So, I mean, we hope now that Austin has not taken that fast repair. He's currently on a tow timer, so we'll take a look and see whether or not he ends up having to do some physical repairs or whether or not he's got his spare car.
Bill, what strikes me about these onboards that we've been seeing with the new windscreen on them is that we've often used the cliche that the drivers of modern open wheel racing are more comparable to jet pilots. And
Yeah.
Oh no!
our leader just hit the pit wall. Clark Archer tried to fake everybody out, and he has paid the price for a poor execution.
Clark
That's what
Archer.
you call the mustard off the hot dog.
The 29. That is one of the most bizarre incidents I've ever seen.
Let's take a look at it here. He's going to look to the inside. He's trying to go to the pits. He's going to the pits. He's thinking to himself, you know, I'm going to fake these guys out. He hangs that right-hand turn and whammo.
And that was not a small hit. There was severe damage to the left side of the car. He couldn't drive it back to the pits because you can't reverse on the track. So he had to take it, which is going to cost him even more.
Our director, that last camera angle, that really wasn't necessary. I mean, I think Archer has paid the price enough there.
And Lionel Callisto had to go underneath him to dodge that wreck. Lionel Callisto and Eric Smith, because of Clark Archer's misfortune, will be able to get their lap back.
Oh my gosh.
They tried to do it on the track and they couldn't do it. And then he put it in the wall.
They prayed to the racing gods, and the racing gods answered.
Oh, that is just unreal. So Matt Sintel in the 91, have we even talked about him at all this race besides the grid? He's going to be our new leader. He's on a 9-lap stint.
He's also got 4 lapped cars tucked in behind him between him and Blake Reynolds, so he's got a buffer.
Wow. Well, this is a boon for Matt. Speaking of the racing gods, that they have smiled upon Matt as well. Things just kind of going his way. Now, it's very early in the race. We're only going to hit the quarter race mark here. Is he coming in, or is he faking out?
No,
he's going to pit.
So that will free up Jonathan Medeiros, Richard Tam, Brian McGreevy, and Steve Driscoll, who will all get back onto whatever the next lap ahead is for them, whether that be lead lap or recovering a lap, as they're being released by Matt Sintel.
All right. Well, that'll make a few drivers very happy. Blake Reynolds will be made quite happy as well. Oh, and Michael Peters, very lucky. That's the car down at the bottom that you just saw. Did he get his lap back or did he not? He started to take off. Now he's slowing down. I thought maybe he had just managed to beat the pace car out, but he's suddenly holding up.
I don't think he knows. We'll find out in a moment. He's very slow on the track, so he's going to have to go or come back. I think he's coming back, Joe.
Yep, he's letting him by. He was just shy of it.
So where is he
The
going to
lights are
filter
off on the
in,
pace
though?
car. So, well, we'll find out soon enough.
Because that could complicate things for these leaders if he filters in a strange spot. Is he going to be right ahead of the pace car? No, he's going to have to go behind Blake.
You would think. No, he's holding in front of the pace car. There goes Blake now. I don't think they know. The lights are off, so we got to get going here soon.
All right. Michael Peters will lead him to the line, but he is not the leader.
What a strange situation. This has been a very interesting Indy 500 so far, with some of the most unique moments we've had even for this series. Is Peters going to stay out, or is he going to maybe try and duck down the pit lane to get out of everybody's way? Nope, he's staying out. Pace car is in, and he leads the charge to the green flag, 1 lap down from our leader, as Reynolds follows him to the yard of bricks. It is going to be Wade Hayes in second, Liam Quinn in third, Brian Bennett fourth, and Chris Stouffer back up to P5.
Well, he's not a lap down yet now, is he?
No, he's the last car in the lead lap, but this
Yeah.
changes the dynamic of everything because Blake Reynolds now is the leader and has a run instead of the other way around. And here he goes. He's going to sneak his way by Peters. Peters giving him all the room in the world. Very thankful for this opportunity. But remember, he does need to battle to try and get his lap back. So he's going to have to get up there and fight with Blake Reynolds. And that's a scary proposition.
I mean, if I was Reynolds, I really wouldn't fight him too hard. If he wants the lead, he can have it as long as it doesn't hold me up. But it doesn't seem like he's quite as fast as Blake. So maybe he does have reason, as they're going to go side by side through turn one. Naturally, Peters is the one to give up that fight. And Liam Quinn's not going to be happy about this as he comes across the slow car behind them. Look how close to the outside wall Chris Stouffer is getting.
And here comes Christian Challoner to the bottom side of Brian Bennett. He's just going to make that pass very easily as he sneaks by 3 wide with Brian Bennett and Michael Peters. He decides to take good advantage of that opportunity.
Things are looking a little dicey now as Quinn comes up to the back of Reynolds, but he lifts. Now he starts to try and go for it. A huge head of steam for both Hayes and Stouffer. 2 by 2 into turn one. And it looks like Quinn is going to come out the best of them, still with a little bit of overlap with Blake Reynolds. Some of them backing off behind them. Wade Hayes doesn't want any piece of this, ducking underneath him with the over-under. And here comes Blake Reynolds again.
Blake Reynolds going to the lead. Christian Challoner challenging for that 4th spot. Christian's going to secure that as Wade Hayes does back out. Looks like he's looking for that fuel number. But look at this, Liam Quinn unable to get past Blake Reynolds. It's very interesting to see him battling up there with all the factoring I know that he does for his team as far as strategy is concerned. So he's trying to get that lead away from Blake Reynolds. He's in a better position than he has been going into one. He's going to secure that going through one, and Blake can't come back through the short chute, so he's got to try and go around the outside of 2.
I can't say that I think this is going to work, but once again, switching to the low side off the corner, it works after the turn as he's got a half a car length up the side of Quinn. He's going to be just a nose ahead as they go through 3. That gives him back first place. Chris Stouffer now in the green and yellow machine just behind them as they come off of 4. Is he going to dare to make it 3 wide?
Here they go down the front stretch once again. Just an update on some of the drivers involved in that last wreck. Austin Espedy is out of the race. He did end up using that fast repair at the beginning of the race in that first pit stop after he hit the outside wall. Samuel Harris is also out of the race, and Richard McClure retired quite early.
Already seen a little bit of attrition here early on. Big duck to the inside. We couldn't see it on screen because we were on board with Stouffer, who has to go high to avoid Challoner. Challoner can't make it stick, though.
Now, he wanted to go through, but Blake Reynolds was slow on the apex of the corner, so Challoner had to get back on the brakes. That's an uncomfortable move. And here we go. Stouffer to the bottom side of Blake Reynolds. Challoner's going to try and follow him through, thinks better of it, and ducks into the high side.
Stouffer now to the lead as he gets by both Quinn and Reynolds through the south end of the track. As they come out of turn 2, Reynolds not as much speed as we've seen him have before. This time it's Quinn's turn to go down low on the back stretch. He's going to be able to get ahead and up into the lead for the 24. There are more cars than those 3 involved in this. Don't forget about Challoner back there in 4th and Bennett involved in the 5-car breakaway here at the top of the field.
And one of the things you want to keep in mind, I think you should take a notice of Challoner and what he didn't do going into 1 and 2 here. He decided to back out of it because the move he would have made he would have been alongside Blake Reynolds when they turned into the corner. That's a big no-no here at Indy. You want to be alongside before you turn into the corner. Otherwise, the move is considered to be too late, and that's just due to the high speeds that we have around here.
Speeds are going to go in favor of Quinn one more time. Back in front of Chris Stouffer. They come through the north side once again. They're still very early in the stint, so everybody on fresher tires at this point. Worth noting, the temperature rising not just because of the heat bearing down here in the middle of the day in Indiana, but I've noticed, Adam, that the temperatures are definitely going down when they get the cautions. I think the cars are putting quite a bit of this heat into the track.
Yeah, it's now 122 on track. This is way hotter than the hottest we have seen. This is 11 degrees hotter than the hottest temperature we saw in any of the other races in the majors this weekend. So these guys are in uncharted waters at this point, racing this race here at the front. And look at that wind as well, 13 miles an hour out of the southwest.
Oh,
That is
wow.
not insignificant in these Indy cars.
Yeah, that's a good point. We haven't looked at that really here today, and they're very susceptible to changes in directions when the wind is that strong. So our top 5 now pretty much seem to have calmed down a little bit. Not seeing moves as much here in this front pack. Was a few of them looking a little shaky off the corner, though.
You can correct me if I'm wrong, Soup, but I believe that wind would make it a headwind into the short chute through turn 3 coming out of the southwest.
I believe that's right.
I don't do math, and I try not to do geography, at least. So I'll let you guys handle that.
I want to leave the front pack here for a minute. I want to talk about this battle. We go back to like 17th position, car 52, Kevin Hill. He's in a battle right now with Josh Cully. But the car I really want to talk about is the car number 32. That again, I'm going to use colors. The yellow car of Eric Smith. Remember, he was the guy fighting for that position. He's now worked his way up to 20 with his shouting distance of 18th. We've watched Smith race a lot. Don't count him out.
Yeah, the other thing is that Smith was one of those cars that recovered a lap on that last caution. His other fellow unlapper was Lionel Kalisto, and Lionel's all the way back in 24th, about 3.5, 4 seconds behind Eric Smith. So Eric's on a charge back up to the front.
Well, when Smith was racing, when Joe and Smith was racing up there to try to get his lap back with the leaders, he was giving Reynolds all he could ask for. So the car's good if he can get it up there.
I think you're right. It certainly looks like he's got decent pace here. Of course, again, this is early in the stint too, so it's going to change as that goes on. Some drivers will come and go, depending on how they have the car set up.
Let's look at 13th position, car number 48, Ryan Toma. He's about to be passed by Travis Warling. Boy, here's a couple major veterans going at it.
Warling's second in the points right now, and he's going to stay second in this battle as Toma is going to hold him back through turns 1 and 2. Backstretch could be another opportunity as he goes way wide out towards that wall, the wake of the car ahead. Obviously not making life fun.
And these hotter temperatures are making that tire cliff happen a lot sooner. Up towards the front of the pack, Christopher had a moment with the wall. He didn't hit it this time, but he got very close to hitting it. So these tires already starting to wear with all these drivers.
Going to look at that third place driver, still hot on the heels of Blake Reynolds. Still have 31 of our 34 starters out on the track. For those of you who are OCD and don't like the 34 starters, well, you can blame Brian Barnes, I suppose, because he used his champion's provisional to be able to be allowed into the race. That's why we had that odd number. I'm sure real Indy drivers would love to be able to do that, Soup. Just missing out on the qualifying.
I love iRacing. They gave us driver swaps and racing on dirt and dynamic sky and dynamic track. One of these days, they're going to give me 3 wide for open wheel cars here at Indy. I know it's coming.
I'm a bit afraid when that happens on that start, if I'm honest. Well, who is that ducking to the inside back there? That was Vincent Laherbier. He must have had a very close moment off of 2. Can we get a replay on the 27 car? In fact, I think he did clip the wall. I'm looking at it on my screen. Here we've got this one spooled up. Let's take another look.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vincent has a very unhappy car in that 27 car. It's the he's really struggling right now. We're gonna see it here as he goes through 1 and 2. He's got a little bit too much weight jacker towards the back, which means his car's actually tight. Yeah, here you see it. He's just gonna over-rotate. Oh. That's a big hit.
He hit it pretty hard, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if he's lacking pace after that. He's fallen off the group in front of him, and Nick Kuhn is now chasing the kinetic driver. Last lap was a 42.2 compared to the 41s and 40s he was running, but naturally hitting the wall is going to slow him down a little bit. This will really tell us what he's got.
All right, guys, we are 17 laps into this stint, which means that we are about halfway through this fuel stint, except for our leader, Liam Quinn, who has about 2 less laps that he can run due to the pace that he's been running up front. We are starting to see a little bit of cloud cover start to creep onto the track. It's 123 degrees, but you're definitely going to see the undercut be effective with how toasty this place is right now.
Just for those wondering about Le Herbier, he's a second off of his normal pace right now. So he is definitely going to either have to take a free repair or spend some time getting that thing banged on when he comes to pit lane, which sounds like, from what you're saying, Adam, will be soon.
Yeah, we're definitely going to see it within the next probably 12 to 15 laps. We're going to see these guys pit, and here comes the cloud cover. This is definitely going to help these drivers.
Remember that heat, though, soaks into the pavement pretty well now with iRacing's new pavement model. So it takes a while to go away. They need a lot of clouds. It is partly cloudy, so it's not unheard of. 123 Fahrenheit on the surface for the time being, continuing to rise. And that wind has held at just about 11 to 13 miles an hour since we last looked at it. Looks like Kuhn just got by Le Herbier. That moves him up to 7th.
Not so much Kuhn getting by Le Herbier as Le Herbier falling back. You know, I got a new
board with our leader. Sorry, go
idea
ahead.
for a new iRacing device. You know, if they could like hook up your room thermostat to the dynamic sky when a cloud come over, if your air conditioner would kick on, that'd be cool, huh? Just thinking.
I mean, I used to race in the upstairs of a house that didn't have air conditioning, so it didn't matter what the track conditions were. It was always hot, at least in the summer. This is about as calm as we've seen up at the front, especially with our leaders very much spaced out. Quinn, Reynolds, Stouffer, Challoner, Bennett, your top 5, all giving each other room and just ticking off the laps. We're not even halfway yet, so there is certainly plenty to go and good reason to settle in. Remember, Vincent L'Herbier and his woes, they're not done. Sam Roush is just behind him. I think the 013 is pretty close to being able to overtake the limping number 27.
Yeah, when he had that moment, he was up in the 6th position. Here he is in 8th, almost getting passed by Samuel Roush. And Samuel, he's having a little bit of troubles of his own, looking like he's dealing with a little bit of a loose race car, and that's definitely due to that weight jacker as well. See how slow he is through the corners compared to Vincent, but you're going to see the speed difference as he gains on the straight. And this is not normal draft speed. This is amplified for sure by damage from Vincent. But if you think these cars are sliding around now and it's hot now, just think about the 2018 Indy 500. That thing was 92 degrees air temperature, and our air temperature right now is only 81 degrees, so it was another 10 degrees hotter in the air, which amplifies it to probably about another 20 to 25 degrees on track.
My sunburn can attest that I was at that one, and
Same
it was
I.
incredibly hot. We ride on board now. This is from Sam Roush's view. The point I was trying to get to earlier before we had the weird incident with Clark Archer, Bill, was it's the cliche often brought out is these cars are more akin to jet fighters anymore. And this windscreen, honestly, I feel like makes it feel even more that way now.
You know what's funny? The only place you're seeing the windscreen is here on iRacing. We haven't. It actually hasn't been on the track yet.
Other than the tests, yeah. It had a couple test runs with it early in the season, and then unfortunately St. Petersburg canceled. They're on going by.
Hey.
Sam Roush able to pass Le Herbier.
I want to talk about a driver racing under the radar. Car number 061 in 10th position. Alessandro Deladonna. Boy, this guy, that's a name. He's kind of destined to be a race car driver, wasn't he? I mean, you name like that.
Yep, we've
Racing
got
in
to
10th.
see him in a couple races recently in this series, the Italian has hopped over to the Americas region to compete and has held his own quite late at night. But I mean, Italy's still on lockdown, I believe, so probably has some time to do it.
He does. He's actually doing an excellent job. He's been doing a fantastic job as far as the races are concerned. And, you know, competing in the pro division in the major series is a lot of hard work. You have to work hard on setups. You have to work hard on getting all those practice laps in. And your qualifying has to be picture perfect. And Dalladone now is about to make a move on Vincent Leherbier, probably on the front stretch here as he backs off going into 3 and 4. But he's proving himself to be a formidable opponent, and drivers and teams should keep their eyes on this driver.
Another set of green flag stops happening. Eric Smith is in, and Callisto is already finished his stop too.
Now remember, these guys did not pit under the last 2 cautions, so they were already at 18 laps on their vehicles by the time we took the green flag last time. So they are pitting earlier than the rest because they're on their own strategy.
Should see Steve Driscoll in. He's on lap 31. So he should be the next one down pit lane along with Richard Tam. Lap 34 for him. He's on a long stint there in the 031.
And Tam actually had connection issues. He was in our top 10 going into the beginning of this race, and he had major connection issues and had actually dropped the session. He came back only 1 lap back, but now he's 3 laps behind, unfortunately. Vincent Leherbier is in his damaged machine.
No surprises there. Probably has to pit early to keep from losing too much more time. Tam entering pit lane.
I think Leherbier was hoping for a yellow because he might be in there a while for repairs, and it'd be much nicer to get those done when everyone's going slower.
Well, it looks like he took the spare car, so that's going to be an interesting development. He's going to have to hope that we don't get many more cautions, but with the temperatures as high as they are, drivers are not inclined to race very close right now.
Yeah, that certainly takes the ace out of his sleeve, unfortunately, since he's still got 100+ laps left to go in this race. He's back out in about 24th. He is a lap down, so if we do get a caution, he will have to try and get that lap back. Driscoll is now in. Actually, didn't we see Driscoll in a couple laps ago? Or am I remembering wrong?
I believe that was a different driver, but Steve Driscoll, that's an early stop for him, so his tire wear must be more effective than the other.
Almost looked like he missed his stall just barely. The UDOX driver is able to get out of the stall cleanly. Certainly not a car you want to wind up stalling the engine after your pit stop, which we've seen recently. 12th with Wayne Hutchison, and Ryan Toma has a bit of friends. The Salamis there, Bob Beltrami, and then they finally get a gap back. That is Richard Tam on fresh tires, showing the difference between them.
Tam is happy.
Yeah, those new tires are definitely going to play a much better role for them as they try and snake their way through. Richard Tam, look how much faster he is. I'll take a look at his lap times compared to the leaders as he crosses the line. Even though Tam's held up by traffic here, Ryan Toma coming into the pits right in front of Tam, actually. That was a sketchy move.
Yeah, he was trying to go underneath him on the exit of the corner with that extra grip that he had, and turned out to be a poor decision, unfortunately. There's Toma down to his stall. We should be seeing the leaders in soon. Looks like Tam is going to try and get Hutchison, put himself between the battle between Hutchison and Hayes. Oh, and Challoner's in. Challoner's our first taker of the leaders.
That undercut, this is exactly what he needed to do right now. Liam Quinn out there on his own with no draft, no help. Challoner's going to try and come in and get some of that draft going.
Let's see who's paying attention and see who covers and comes in on the next lap. They can't let Christian race with fresh tires for more than 1 lap.
The only thing is, Bill, I know you said
Quinn's
this works a little bit differently, as yes, indeed, Quinn heading down the lane. a little bit differently than typical oval racing, but it's still very much a risk on whether or not you go a lap down, even as one of these front runners. So I feel like those who come in early are kind of taking a little bit of a gamble here.
Yeah, well, I don't think Challenger was able to do his stop and stay on the lead lap, but he's going to be so fast on new tires that those guys ahead of him have to come in. Reynolds isn't listening to me, though, as he stays out.
Actually, Christian Challenger was able to maintain the lead. He comes out of the pits at 2.5 seconds ahead of Blake Reynolds, our current leader. So Christian Challenger on those fresh tires, he'll be taking off into the distance very shortly. Blake Reynolds stays out for another lap.
Quinn, a little bit of a longer stop than Challenger, though, and a second might not sound like a lot, but when you're moving at speeds as fast as these cars are, Challenger, who's got a head of steam, is coming up behind Quinn now. There you see them both on screen.
Yeah, Quinn's going to be possibly a sitting duck. It depends on how good Challenger's exit was. But look at that. Quinn into 3 and 4 before Challenger. But Challenger, remember, he was a little bit back. He was not right in behind him. So actually, Challenger having gained a lot of time on Quinn there. Clark Archer, Wayne Hutchison, and Lyndon Swaby into the pits as well. And here comes Blake Reynolds, our leader.
Reynolds is in. Stouffer is in. So is this going to mean Della Donna is going to inherit the lead, or will Alessandro come in pit with them? No, he's going to stay out. The 061 will be our new leader, at least temporarily, as he's on a 32-lap stint, so he will need to come in soon.
Now, what I'm interested to see is where Christian Challenger and Liam Quinn end up with these guys who just pitted, Blake Reynolds and the rest of our drivers on the lead lap. They're already pulling out of their pit boxes now as Christian Challenger and Liam Quinn come around turn 4.
There you can see them together on screen. Quinn's going to go for it. Challenger's going to go for it, rather. Looking to the inside with a clean move down into there. Stouffer comes out well behind them. He's not even up to speed yet. And they're already through. Reynolds is right ahead of him. They might just catch Reynolds.
They're going to smoke Reynolds, especially because he's still going to be gaining speed through 3 and 4. They're going to smoke him on the front stretch.
Catching slowly. It's now down to about half a second up to him. Now they've got the slipstream. Reynolds trying to weave and break that draft. Pulling the old Pagano move. But it is of no use. There goes Christian Challenger. Back up to what is now third, but we're waiting on Kevin Hill and Rob Gall, the last two to pit.
So Adam Challenger, first to pit, had a couple hot laps, and that's what got all the distance. He was not close to the lead before the pit stops.
Nope, that undercut working in great effect, but here comes the draft battle between Quinn and Reynolds. Reynolds is going to try and hold it strong on the outside. Quinn actually has to back out of it on the bottom side. Looks like that outside starting to get a little bit more rubber into it as we get later on these runs, and it's going to start to become the most effective thing. So Kevin Hill into the pits. That puts Christian Challenger into the lead. Well, actually, yes, he is going to cross the line and the lead, but Blake Reynolds very close next to him.
Reynolds up to the front now. Challenger back into second. Liam Quinn in third. We talked about Stouffer being smoked by them. It is a 3.3 second gap now that things have settled out. You can see him back in the distance on this wide shot.
First majors race I've been on this season. I come back and who do I get to call up front? Challenger and Reynolds. It's like I've never been gone.
Not much has changed in that realm. I can tell you that. As they come down the front stretch one more time. Other than Stouffer, a bit of a quiet race for the number 71, Brian Bennett, who is in the top 5 after starting in 17th. Not a driver who's been making a whole lot of waves today, but this is a very good position to be in with how far into the race we are.
And the driver I want to talk about is the one right behind him, who's up on multiple positions as well, Michael Chin. Michael's one of those drivers we talked about very early, getting involved in one of the wrecks. He's now up to 6th position and is just sitting right in behind Brian Bennett, saving a little bit of fuel.
Bennett's one of those senior drivers. You don't want to talk too loud. You'll scare him, but doing really well.
I thought you had to talk loud so you could hear it.
Yeah, we frighten easily. Great run, though, from Brian.
So we continue to ride on board with Chin. Car that's hard to miss. Reminds me of those old Menards paint schemes. Meanwhile, top three have basically just formed a little pack for themselves and are kind of riding around. They are looking to lap Brian McGreevy one more time, though. He's in front of them. And I'm seeing, yeah, Brian's just going to stay off to the side. So he's not going to try and be in the way, at least of this first one, Christian Challoner.
What a great camera shot. I love that shot, director. Nice.
Yeah, McGreevy was already a lap down, so he doesn't actually benefit that much from fighting these guys for that position. It looks like I saw some black smoke there, so it's possible someone just blew their engine. I'll keep my eyes on that.
Well, I see Nick Kuhn out of the race now, and I'm not sure why. Medeiros has also been in pit lane for quite a while, about 15 laps. Something must have befell him. We're down to 25 cars left on the lead lap currently. Rob Gall is the last of them. In fact, he's only got about one corner ahead of Christian Challoner, so he may join them soon.
I hate to keep pounding this point home, but car number 32 in 10th position. Last time we checked on him, Eric Smith was about 16th or 17th, now inside the top 10.
And he's
all
got
you guys, keep an eye on him.
He's got Alessandro Dalladone right ahead of him. And if you want to keep your eyes on him while we keep our eyes on other places, check out gsrc.tv for that live timing and scoring, and you can watch Eric Smith continue to climb up the field.
Yeah, he was fighting with Ryan Toma, if I'm remembering, and Toma is a good 4 seconds back from him at this point. That tells you this pace that Smith is running compared to the other mid-packers around him. So we head back to Callisto. And, well, Clark Archer, I guess, is not succumbed to his embarrassment. He's back out on track, and he's on the lead lap.
Yeah, he's definitely going to need a caution to fully recover from this because he's 25 seconds behind, and at 41-second laps that they're turning right now, that's just over half a lap behind. So unfortunately, he's going to need a little bit of help to recover. So is Lionel Callisto, but Callisto not doing a bad job either, having recovered his lap at the last caution. So he's now fighting with Clark Archer, one of our former leader before that last caution. He can actually wave and say thanks to Clark Archer as he goes by for giving him the lap back.
What a comeback story if Archer gets the win, huh?
I have a feeling that his peers will not let him live that move down, though, even if he wins. Behind him, Wade Hayes, who's dropped off. Worth pointing out that he is third in the points going into this race. So Hayes being down in 15th is probably not quite where he wants to be. He needs to start climbing some places. He wants to get some a good haul when he comes home.
And Wade definitely has a lot of weight jacker thrown into the rear of that thing. That rear end is looking lively right now, and that's just because of how tight the car is. He's trying to get it to rotate more through the corner, but that's the risky play. So he's just not. Yeah, look at that. He has to work the wheel very hard through the corners just to keep it from rotating underneath him. Wade really struggling with a tight race car at the moment that he's made loose because of the weight jacket.
I wonder if we could check back in on the top three, because I'm noticing that Quinn looks like he's lacking a little pace now. Our third place driver has fallen off by nearly a second from Blake Reynolds. And Reynolds is still holding on to Challoner, but now he's going to be split by a little bit of traffic. That's going to be Kevin Hill that you see him going around. That cost him a bit of time there.
And it looks like he lost this time battling with Brian McGreevy. No, he wasn't battling with him. He was actually sitting behind him. I think Liam Quinn is on a fuel number.
Well, the problems that we saw with traffic for Reynolds has allowed Quinn to gain back what he had just lost. 10 laps before we hit the halfway mark here in the Indy 500.
Yeah,
Continue to ride on board with Quinn.
Quinn is definitely on a fuel number, Joe, and he's also dealing with a very tight race car. He's really struggling with something. You saw just how much he struggled to get out of that corner. Weight checker is way back on this thing.
You said that about a few cars now. I wonder if that's everybody's kind of thinking that's the way to go, but does anybody risk understeering maybe, or is it fast as loose?
I mean, it's 125 degrees Fahrenheit on track. That's 52 degrees Celsius. This track just keeps getting hotter. These drivers have no recourse for the heat. That means that if we do get another caution, which with the amount of weight checking these drivers are throwing in seems probably likely, you're going to see drivers really fight hard in those opening laps of the next restart to really try and get track position, because track position's really starting to become a premium out here.
Very spread out for sure. And I'm looking through to see who among our front runners will be likely to come in earlier. Le Herbier is on a 19 lap stint. That's higher than anybody else within the top 10 besides Eric Smith, who has 21. And then you have to jump back to 14th for Lionel Kalisto, who's on 22 laps right now. So expect to see some of those drivers come in before any of our leaders potentially. See if that gets them anything, though.
So Christian Challoner right now putting in 41.294 lap. Blake Reynolds behind was a 41 flat. Liam Quinn has backed it off to a 41.775. He is our slowest driver until you get down to 12th place. So Liam Quinn definitely going backwards right now.
We hop on board once again with Quinn. He's to the inside of the lapped car of Hill and finally gets through on him. Let's take a look at how his laps compare to our overall leader here, Challoner. Challoner definitely consistently faster, and actually by pretty big margins for an oval.
He's nearly a second off of Challoner some laps. This is scary time for Quinn. But that being said, he's in third place. So once again, if a caution comes out, all this trouble goes away and he reappears back at the front of the pack.
Only had 2 cautions so far today. So it has been a impressively clean race considering we're just about halfway through. The 24 looking for a three-peat, back-to-back wins. Apparently has only been done 5 times in the history of the real Indy 500. Last driver to do that was Helio Castroneves.
I like that stat, Joe. That's good. You got me thinking now.
Can thank Mike Willett, who has helped prep me on some of this stuff. He's certainly fed us some good information coming into this race. Back in 15th, talked about Wade Hayes third in the championship and how he needed to climb forward. Hutchison is making sure he's not going to do that because he's caught up to the back of him. And he's brought along Josh Cully as well as David Hall. And looks like the Salami could be counted as a part of this train.
He is working on Hall for that 18th spot. Bill Trami up 10 spots from where he started. Still on the lead lap, 33 seconds behind the leader.
I think Blake Reynolds.
And if you were at GSRC.tv, you could know that without me telling you, right?
I was going to say Blake Reynolds might be our hard charger, but then I was looking through and I saw Ryan Toma from 32nd to 12th. So I think Toma wins that award more than anybody else in this field for the moment. Race isn't over yet.
You talked about the hard charger, but we talked about the Fast 9 that we did in qualifying. Well, most of those guys are out of the top 10 now. The only drivers that we saw qualify, Quinn, Stouffer, and Le Herbier. Everybody else missing.
Archer's, well, we know what happened to him. He's down in 13th. Wade Hayes is in P15. We've been covering just recently about his battle. Swaby is in 22nd and one of the last cars on the lead lap. He said that qualifying doesn't always necessarily mean as much, and proof is in the pudding.
it's interesting to note Liam Quinn has fallen back 4.7 seconds from Blake Reynolds in second place. Blake, on the other hand, has maintained his gap to Christian Challoner. Christian now pulling 41.5s with Blake Reynolds in the 41.3 range. Liam Quinn 41.5 as well, so his pace starting to even out a little bit here. But we have two black stripe drivers at the lead of the pack right now.
Yeah, no surprises there. Both of them are black stripe on the oval side.
Those black
'Cause I
stripes
believe
make it go faster. I don't
They
know.
do, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that griphacks.exe, right? Meanwhile, Liam Quinn, is he still a black stripe on the roadside? I believe he was for a while, wasn't he?
It doesn't appear he is at the moment, but I would have to check with him to see
thinking
whether or
of
not he
someone
was,
else.
but-
I thought we had an endurance driver here in the majors that was usually up at the front.
Ooh, well, actually, it looks like Christian Challoner's getting into some dirty air for some lap cars ahead, and he's very slow. Blake Reynolds, the first opportunity in a long time for a pass, and he's going to take it.
He wants to lead to the halfway point. Oh, I guess he missed it, didn't he? Missed it by a lap.
Yeah.
Or would this be leading lap 100? I guess this is it right here, right?
I've sworn math off on air, so this is apparently important to both of them this lap, though. Challoner fights back, and Blake Reynolds not able to do anything with it. Christian, as they hit lap 101, is going to be in P1. Well, Liam Quinn's loving that. If they would just keep doing that, that might bring him back in the equation.
Christian is extremely tight right now behind Adam Halleck, who's up ahead of him. Blake Reynolds seems to have figured out his balance for driving in the wake of Christian Challoner, so yeah, things starting to get very interesting here as Christian seems to be bleeding up towards the top of the track more and more on the exits of these corners.
24 lap stint here for Christian. It's only a couple more, then he's got to duck down the lane, get fresh rubber, and see if that can help him get some distance away from the number 3. That's if he pits before him. Blake Reynolds could try and undercut him as well.
Yeah, but I don't think he's going to.
Here comes Eric Smith from 10th. We've been watching him. Kalisa will probably come in as well. That was a 30-lap stint for those guys. They are on that alternate fuel strategy.
And look how dirty those cars are as they come into the lane. That rubber is starting to get picked up by the high downforce, the high undertray downforce, and getting chucked up into these cars. And yeah, so Eric Smith into the pit box cleanly. He's going to get some tires and some fuel. That's going to be a little bit of a longer stop, 9.8 seconds, and he's out of the lane.
Good stop. No dramas. Just back out, get running once again. Hope that you don't get a caution before the leader's pit, because Smith is in the danger zone. He is a lap down, despite the good pit stop, and Challoner still with about 4 more laps before he'll probably be coming in.
All right, Adam. Reynolds can go 3 or 4 more laps farther, at least if we're dealing with fuel. I don't know if he wants to, if he can afford to let Challoner come in and have those hot laps on fresh tires. What do you think?
Oh, I would 100% go those extra laps because you have no idea how this race is going to play out. If it plays out green to the end, you can save some significant time in the pits if you have more fuel than the rest of the guys. And if he keeps playing his cards right and maybe gets a couple good cautions, he might even be able to do 1 stop less than the rest of the field, and that could put him in the lead at a crucial moment.
They've both elected to keep going this time by. Did we have Kalisto in yet? Yes, we did. So Kalisto's just coming out from the pit lane, the warm-up lane. Another one of those more unique aspects here at Indy, that they have that warm-up lane that you're required to take for a safe pit exit.
You know, that Indy is a really smooth track. The only bump that bothers me at Indy, there's a bump on the exit road out of pit lane. That if you happen to shift gears, that right when you're going over that bump, at least for me, because I'm an idiot, I spin the car. That's the only bump on the track.
They're going to watch Bob Beltrami take that bump as he comes out of pit lane.
Watch the racing line here that you can take. Let's see if Beltrami does it. A lot of times you want to swing out onto the oval. even though you have to stay in, he's going to stay down low. You can swing out and kind of lessen that corner, this part right here. If you swing out onto the oval, come down. You watch a lot of the fast guys do that.
And here's an interesting thing to note, Joe, just doing a little bit of math in the background. Christian Challoner is going to come into the pits. If he comes into the pits at 30 laps on his stint, he's just not going to be able to make it with 3 more stops. He'd have to save some fuel during one of those stints. Blake Reynolds, on the other hand, if he goes to 30 laps on his stint, he is going to be able to make it on 3 more stops. So Blake Reynolds in a position to make it with 3 more stops on fuel.
Well, this is curious then, because we saw Christian fight Reynolds back very fiercely when he tried to go for the lead. I would think that Christian maybe would want to just ride behind him, maybe use the slipstream a little bit, try to save fuel that way, or is the wake too bad to try and do something like that?
Well, with the trouble he was having with the wake of the cars ahead of him that were a good second ahead, I would think that Christian would be worried about possibly pushing out into the wall, being stuck behind Blake Reynolds. But then again, we also have to think about the fact that Christian might not have faith that we're going to go green to the end of the race, whereas Blake Reynolds is in a strategic position where he might be able to have that faith that we go green to the end. Look at this. Blake going a little bit wide there. Christian Challoner into the pits at lap 29, so he's even a little short.
If you count back 30 from 200, that's 170, 140, 110. That's your lap if you're looking at 30 laps on a stint. 108 is not there, but I think Challoner, if he really tries, could probably stretch a few more laps on a stint.
I think it's doable. He's just got to start thinking ahead.
Yeah.
And do what he can. I'll be absolutely amazed, though, if we go this whole thing without another caution. It has been pretty clean. But as the cars get mixed up, as drivers start to get fatigued, and as the temperatures continue to keep going up, I don't think the chances are in the favor of those hoping for a full green flag run to the checker.
Kind of the nature of a beast of a race that has a extra car or a spare car. It doesn't thin the herd quite as much as we normally would.
Exactly.
So Liam Quinn came in as well. So he was definitely running a lot of clean air laps. So he's definitely on that point on the bubble for making it on 3 more. Blake Reynolds, though, is committed. He has already gone around 1 more time, and he hits the wall. He hits the wall through 3 and 4. This might mean him coming into the pits right now. Yes, he is going to. That's going to ruin his strategy a little bit.
He's still got a spare car, I believe, so I think he'll be able to get away with it if it did damage it. The question is, do you use it here? Do you risk not using it? Oh, that was a bounce.
He's crabbing. He's crabbing, Joe. He's going to have to use it, and he does. He had side pod damage.
If you're going to hit the wall at any time, try to do it at the end of your pit window, your fuel stint at, corner 4.
Back out and going. There is Quinn. Quinn's coming down the front stretch right now. Oh, but he's going to have to try and fight with whoever this is in front of him.
Swaby. Or this is Swaby on pit exit for Reynolds.
So Challoner way going to blow by, but we expected that with the undercut and the strength that it has. So Blake Reynolds is going to have to either deal a Swaby or draft in behind him.
He's trying to go around him, but Swaby's not giving it up. And now Quinn is actually dealing with Wade Hayes. He actually gets by Wade Hayes, but side by side for Blake Reynolds, still with Lyndon Swaby, who is a lap down from him. This is not this is not for position. Finally gets by, but this has allowed Liam Quinn to catch up to him when he would have been well ahead.
And Swaby is a kinetic teammate of Liam Quinn, so there might be something to that. But at the same time, Swaby's got his own race that he has to run, and he's not going to slow up for Blake Reynolds. He doesn't care what position he's in. So I highly doubt it was team orders. I think it was just team aggressiveness. And here comes Liam Quinn diving to the inside of the corner on Blake Reynolds. Blake's going to have to let him go.
Is that the PC term for it to get away with it? It's team aggressiveness. It's not team orders.
Alessandro Della Donna pits from the lead. He'll cycle out at about 14th.
Look at this. Blake Reynolds sitting right in behind Liam Quinn. He's done the math. He wants to make it on 3 stops if there is another if they're going to go green all the way. So he's not intent on trying to pass Liam right now.
Only a couple cars were waiting on to pit, but our leaders have cycled back through to the front. Just need Cully and Hall to come in among the top 10. And it looks like Brian Barnes as well.
I'm going to take you to 7th position, car number 32. I keep documented. Now, it says 7th. I think he's going to vulture a few spots when people pit in front of him. There's Eric Smith.
Yeah, it'll be 5th because it's Cully and Hall that I just mentioned, who actually are pitting right now, or at least Hall is. Cully stays out.
Yeah, those of you who are watching on GSRC.TV at the live timing have watched Eric Smith climb through the field up to 5th position now, doing an excellent job as he snakes his way up the field. Don't count Eric Smith out. If we do get another caution, he will definitely be back in the fight for the lead.
To rain on his parade, he does need a caution because he's off cycle. I think he has one more stop needed than everybody else, so he's going to need a caution somewhere to get back on the same strategy with everybody.
You're correct. He's on 11 laps in to this stint compared to everybody else who's about 5 or 6. So he's only mildly off, but he's kind of in the same position as Challoner, where he just is a little bit outside of what's feasible. He now gets 5th place as we finally have Cully come and pit.
Yeah, but look who's just up ahead of him. Chris Stouffer has managed to recover, and he's now up to 4th position. He does have a car between himself and Blake Reynolds, that is Lyndon Swaby. But Chris Stouffer on a decent recovery drive himself, and with Blake Reynolds saving fuel behind Liam Quinn, they're going to be slower than Chris Stouffer is in the draft. So that means he might be up there battling for 2nd position before he knows it.
Fascinating how the strategy has played out today. We get closer towards the end of this 500 miler. Chris Stouffer, who is certainly in the thick of it before, has suddenly gotten a little bit quiet. He's a little too far back from Reynolds and them to try and challenge them. And Eric Smith, who you mentioned, is not quite right behind him. It's about 10 seconds back there to the 32. So he's got a big buffer to the car in 5th place.
But Adam, just to repeat the point, what happened to Reynolds, he was in a better situation just before he put it in the wall. He had to pit a couple laps earlier than he would have. That took away the fuel advantage that he had. Now he has to be a little more careful on these final stints. He could have raced with more abandon if he was able to go those extra laps like you had talked about.
Absolutely, but now he's just sitting in the wake of Liam Quinn, saving a ton of fuel. He is lifting and coasting quite a bit, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was sitting in 6th gear down these straights, trying to save even more fuel.
Let's hop on board, see if we can see on his dash. He's in 5th right now. Yep, he's up to 6th.
Fuel saving mode engaged. Blake Reynolds trying to hit the numbers.
Down in the 5th for the corners. To ride just behind Liam Quinn. Man of the race right now, though, is Christian Challoner, your leader, who started it in 10th place, didn't bother to qualify with the Fast 9, and didn't need it because he's been up at the front since the last cycle through, and is looking to continue that perfect record this season, winning every race that he's been in. Hasn't won every race in the Americas because he did hop over for the European region for at least one.
Now, I know that none of these drivers wish ill will on the drivers around them, but Liam Quinn's going to need some ill will from Christian Challoner or another caution in order to challenge for this win. The track temperature continuing to go up. 126 degrees Fahrenheit, up a couple of tenths from the 52 degrees Celsius that we saw a little bit earlier. Now, they do have a little bit of cloud cover coming overhead, but that has not been affecting the temperature of the race. Now, here's the other thing to note. In the European Sportsman Split 1, right about now, the track temperature started to drop in their split from about 110 down to 91 degrees Fahrenheit. So that might give this race the same opportunity. If the track temperature starts to drop back down, we will see lap times start to go back up, and we will also, down rather, and we will also see that side-by-side battling like we saw at the beginning of the race start to increase as well.
That was Steve Driscoll in that UDOX car. You saw them putting a lap down. Incredibly, he's actually running 16th. So a lot of drivers are losing the lead lap. Reason I bring up Driscoll, he's actually running fourth in the points currently. He's one of the few that has taken a win. I believe that may have come during one of the multi-class races that they ran. Still count those as wins within your class. On board with Driscoll. Again, not a horribly bad finish if he stays where he is, but considering he's looking at a championship here today, he needs to be higher up.
Just about 5 seconds up the road, the last car on the lead lap is Bob Beltrami, one of our Legends Series runners, and he's in a similar position. He's on significantly older tires than our leaders, and he is just trying to hang on to that position, but Christian Challenger, only 0.5 behind, is going to make easy work of him.
I don't know if he's going to make easy work of him or not. I've been watching it for a while. Give Beltrami a tip.
Oh, we got a caution. Oh, and it's Callisto. Callisto and Toma come together. This started with Ryan in the 48. I just went over to it, and Callisto gets collected. His day is done.
Callisto had to check up so he didn't get into the back of Clark Archer. When he checked up, Travis Warling got into the back of Callisto. Into the back of Toma. Toma spun. You see, that's Toma right in the middle. And then here comes Little Train with nowhere to go.
And Warling down there who got that damage, I'm curious how bad it is, because he is our second place in the championship points right now. Already not having the greatest of days in 12th. If he's out of spare cars, then this is going to just make it even more painful.
But guys, as we're watching Callisto's unfortunate end to this race because he had already used his spare car at the front of the pack, this changes everything. Liam Quinn, who was 7 seconds behind Christian Challenger when we had that caution come out, will regain all of that time. Expect to see everybody down pit road, no matter how many laps they have on their tires. This is going to be a shootout.
Boy.
But they can't get to the end on only one stop from here. I think they're going to need two. And how about Bob Beltrami? We talked about Beltrami fighting and hanging on, clawing to stay on the lead lap. Well, baby, you're in 13th, back of all the cars on the lead lap, baby.
Exactly.
Number 13.
That's well within striking distance of the lead. Bob Beltrami is not out of it at all, so this is going to make things very interesting. That being said, with the high track temperatures, expect people to try and take as much as they possibly can when we come back green, because there's not going to be long before that tire wear starts to fall off again.
And Callisto is gone, but his buddy that was on the same pit strategy, this is great news for Eric Smith now in 5th. That's that yellow that he needed. He gets level playing field.
Looks like pretty much everybody electing to come in. Centel not, though.
No,
he's a lap down, so he's looking to get that back. Should get that easily. And there's poor Callisto with his mangled car, unfortunately done for the day. See if we get anybody else electing to stay out. Just lap cars.
I'm a fan of Little Train. Maybe talk to Mike and see if we can maybe get 2 spare cars for next season.
Challenger hits his box very cleanly. Liam Quinn hits his box cleanly as well. Christian Challenger is going to beat Quinn out of the box, and it's going to be a side-by-side battle between Blake Reynolds and Chris Stouffer. Blake's going to beat Stouffer out, so everything's going to hold station here. Eric Smith's going to be the last out in the top 5.
Yep, not much in the way of change from the pit stops. Still incredible effects on the strategy. We'll come back and talk more about that in a moment. Don't go away. We have more to come here for the Majors 2020 Indy 500. Welcome back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We are watching round 5 of the majors. It's the Indy 500. And let's not forget about our charity for this race. Once again, that is Sarge's Place. Raised $150 if you want to try and help out. I believe we have a link in the description below where you can donate as well. So thanks to all the drivers who have contributed. We are going to get another restart. Our third caution of the day. They have been sparse out here, especially in the middle of the race. Christian Challoner will lead them back. Liam Quinn in second. Blake Reynolds third. Stouffer fourth. And how about Eric Smith coming back to fifth? Now on the same strategy as all those around him. What can he do? Pace car is in. Christian Challoner is off. Green flag is out. Back racing on lap 125 here at Indianapolis, Indiana. Down into the first corner. Decent start for Challoner, but we've seen this all day where it looks like he'll probably get caught on the backstretch.
Definitely will. Liam Quinn has a decent run. He's going to try and diamond up the corner. Remember, this is the first time these guys have had fresh tires in a while where they've been able to battle. Here comes Liam Quinn down the inside of the corner. Christian Challoner's going to let him go. Blake Reynolds also going to follow him, but we've seen the top side be strong. Let's see whether Christian Challoner can hold it there. He can hold it there, but can he make the pass on Liam Quinn? No, Liam is able to clear him.
Bit of a breakaway here with our top 5. Although it looks like Smith kind of holding back a little bit, giving them some space. I don't blame them the way they're fighting already 2 by 2 for the lead of 4 cars trying to settle it out, and it's going to go the way of Christian Challoner. Back ahead of Liam Quinn. Stouffer into third. Reynolds slots back into fourth.
You know, with the addition of Reynolds and Smith, this is the battle we've been seeing most of the day at these restarts. Christian Challoner, Liam Quinn, and Chris Stouffer duking it out here. Liam Quinn swapping with Christian Challoner once again. Stouffer looking on. This is pretty much a rinse and repeat of our second restart.
So they come onto the front stretch once again. They're going to swap around like we saw in the early laps of this race. This is looking a little bit more behaved this time around, so maybe drivers deciding it's not worth fighting that hard. We saw a few of them last time, Adam, save tires early in the stint. I wonder if any of them are willing to do that here. Certainly doesn't look like Quinn is.
I would expect Eric Smith to be one of those saving tires as well. He's really just hanging out back there in that 5th position, just watching this all happen, getting a little bit of a draft, staying within touch of Blake Reynolds up ahead. Blake Reynolds also looking like he's saving his stuff. He's not at all interested in getting involved in this battle up ahead of him. But Alessandro Dalladone, on the other hand, might be thinking about going to the inside. Eric Smith, he backs out of it. Eric with significant more pace going up to Blake Reynolds there. Looks like everyone checking up through 1 and 2.
Stouffer and Challoner side by side through 1 managed to live to tell the tale. In fact, Challoner is going to be blessed with a run by that, and he's going to get to the inside down into turn 3, capture it right back. That group of 5 has now essentially grown all the way back to 13th. Travis Warling, the last in that line.
And he's also the first to have, he's also the last to have pitted on that caution, whereas Matt Santel was the lap car that got waved around. So it's kind of 2 battles right now. It's the guys who were on the lead lap before the caution and the guys who weren't on the lead lap before the caution, who are all battling for different spots right now.
Ooh, bit high off the corner for Reynolds there. Manages to get away with it though. Gonna swap around one more time. Stouffer just gonna sit back there. This could be a good fuel saving moment for Chris, considering he's not attacking. I bet there's some lifting going on into those corners.
Yeah, these guys at the front just doing the swap thing to try and maintain speed, because it is faster when you have that draft going in, but they are starting to pull away a little bit from Vincent Leherbier, who I just am convinced at this point that he's not like his setup for this race whatsoever. He's back in the 8th position and is falling back from Brian Bennett ahead by about 0.7 of a second.
You talked about Bennett. How about a shout out to him and the driver right in front of him, Dalladone? Those guys, been quietly racing. They're 6th and 7th on the tail of the lead of the front pack.
That pack is starting to break away a little bit from Leherbier, who is down in 8th. He's pulling along Chin and Archer. You have to wonder, could Archer maybe get back into this thing as
Yeah.
well?
Possibly, but we've already lost about 8/10 of a second on our fastest laps of this stint. Just in the couple laps that we have run, the 3 laps that we've run here. So this hot track, it's already, it's gone up again to 126 Fahrenheit. This track just does not want to cool down today. We are at the hottest point of the day, though, 2 o'clock.
Back through to the lead, Christian Challoner now up to the point. And Stouffer falling off a little bit this time through, giving more space.
So is Quinn. He is going to try and make the move on through the first corner again. And Christian's going to let him go, but that was a little bit more stretched out than we've seen it. So if Quinn's not careful going through 3 and 4, he might lose the lead for good for this stint.
I guess that'll be really the determining factor is we play the game of hot potato until the tires go off. And then it's whoever's in front is able to lead the rest of the way to the pit stops. Back behind them, that battle for fourth, you can see that's Reynolds being caught by who else? Eric Smith.
Smith's car is a little better after the tires get old. I mean, it's not better, but he's better than the rest of the guys around him with old tires, if that's makes sense.
It gets less worse.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Yeah. He was a little hot off the corner, though, and that cost him the close gap that he had to Reynolds. This time through, I don't think Quinn took that spot back, did he? Or no, he is up at the front, excuse me.
Quinn was able to maintain his position through 3 and 4 this time, so Christian Challoner is content in sitting in second that time around, but he's going to go for the move now as they head up to 1 and 2. So now they've swapped ends of the tracks where they're going to swap ends of the race.
Back up to the lead for the 37.
Whoa! Eric Smith just got very loose off the corner and almost took Gialdone with him, both of them having extreme moments out of 1 and 2.
And I think once we get that replay, we need to look behind them because Bennett actually did get the wall hard. He's going to have to come into pit lane. There's, whoa! That is a very slidey car, and that is Bennett down in the grass.
Oh.
This
That's
was
heartbreaking.
not an avoidance like we saw from Smith.
Oh.
Oh.
That's heartbreaking for Bennett. He worked so hard to get up there and a majorly damaged car. Let's hope that he still has his spare car. I'm not sure if he does, but we'll find out shortly.
Well, he didn't set off a caution. I mean, credit to the 71. Yeah. He could have easily tried to trigger a caution. He decided to play fair. So he's just going to come down pit lane and swallow his medicine, go the laps down, and let's see if he takes a spare. Yep, there it is.
Good.
Held on to it.
This will put him more than a lap down, I believe. It'll be about a lap and a half down for him, so he'll need another caution in order to recover from that, more than one caution. But holy smokes, can I say that Christian Challoner was ahead at the right time when the tires started to fall off, and now Liam Quinn's having trouble keeping attached to him in the dirty air.
Yeah, that gap up to half a second here. Look at that. Huge compared to what it was looking like for the last 4 or 5 laps. Stouffer showing the same signs. He's not able to get right up to the back of Quinn. Everybody's following the marked X's on the ground at this point. It gets so close.
Our first stint today, the fall off was at 19 laps. The second stint, it was at 13 laps. This stint, it was at 11 laps. The increased track temperature is just making it harder and harder for these drivers to stay in line with each other and to try and make any passes. So right now, we do have a side-by-side between Bob Beltrami and Samuel Roush. Beltrami's going to be able to get that position done, but just, it's really hard to pass around here with these high temps.
That puts the Salami in 10th place. Worth noting, I watched Smith come off of turn 2 And it was the exact same thing as last time. The car was extremely loose. And I don't believe we saw that from him before. I'm not sure what's going on with that car.
It's that tight that snaps loose on the exit of the corner, and that just comes from the weight jacker and also from the heat and the way these cars are set up. I don't think anyone set up a track for this hot of temperatures. I remember most of the drivers that I talked to were setting up for about 110, 115 degrees. We are well above that at 126 right now. That's 52 degrees Celsius. And they were planning for about 10 degrees less Fahrenheit and about 4 or 5 degrees less Celsius in this.
I think for Smith it's a case what my dad used to say, when the light shines the brightest, the collar sews the tightest. Now that he's up here, he's finally got to where he's wanted to race. I think he's racing for all he's worth, right on the edge. He wants to stay with these guys in front of him.
Good point. And it's doing well so far. He's only about 2 seconds back from the leader, so he's not completely out of reach. You can still see him up ahead. I can tell you that that battle between Beltrami and Roush turned into a battle between Warling and Roush. Now Travis, second place in the championship points, is up to 11th with that move. He's another one that seems to have appreciated the caution when it came.
Yeah, it looks like
and Roush is in.
It looks like the closest that most of these drivers can follow is about a third of a second without completely blowing off tight into the high wall. So it's going to be difficult for any passes to be made right now. These drivers are going to have to hope that that temperature comes down as we cross over the hottest point of the day.
Roush is going to go a lap down here. He was one of those that was off sequence. So he's going to lose out to Challoner.
I know this is a bit controversial right now, but if you were to pit at 140, you're good to go on one more stop. If I was somebody maybe like Eric Smith or Deladonna back there that don't have the pace to stay up, maybe I come in now, run a few hot laps with fresh tires and hope that the yellow comes out and it works out for me. I don't know.
I hear you, crew chief, but I'm here in the car driving behind the wheel and I'm almost hitting the outside wall on every turn, and this is only lap 18 of the stint. And I'm thinking to myself, you gotta be insane telling me to come in and try and do a long run at the end of the race in the hottest time of the day.
So maybe break it up into 2 equal spots then. You could
That's a good point.
Come in at 20 and then come in and do a lap instead of 20.
Yeah, but your crew chief is usually right about these strategy things, so we're on board with Blake Reynolds as he's starting to fall into the clutches here of Eric Smith, and that's because Samuel Roush, who just came out of the pits, has actually kind of forced this battle to kind of come together here. Look at that, Blake Reynolds and Christopher both getting very tight. Eric Smith actually has a run on Blake here, but he's not going to get close enough by the time they get to 3 and 4. Eric Smith, this is the closest he's been to a car ever since we've started to string out towards the middle of this run. We're about 2/3 into a run at this point. Eric Smith handling the pressure well at this point, but he did lose time to Blake Reynolds, who now is catching up to Stover.
So Adam, you're telling me if I'm your crew chief and I said, hey, Adam, you want fresh tires? I can give them to you now. You're going to say no? I'll stay out here and race someone I got. Oh, you'd be coming in. I kept you.
Driscoll returns to the track after his pit stop. Centel has also taken his pit. Worth noting, we were talking about Smith continuing to chase Reynolds, and Adam was mentioning how good it was looking. Bill, I believe it was you that said you noticed Smith was good later in the run.
Yeah, I think he's... Although, as soon as I said that, he almost put it in the wall twice. But yeah, I think I think when the tires get old, he's better than the guys around him.
You know what, Soup? I think you nailed it on the head. Liam Quinn is decided to take the crew chief strategy, as he is the crew chief for Kinetic, and come into the pit lane here, and he's going to try and split that race up exactly like you said.
I mean, call me Sebastian Vettel, but I've learned to distrust at least some of what my crew chief said after we lost a race to fuel, but I think they've got a little bit more information than we do in the cockpit. Quinn in and out on a clean stop, a very fast stop, 8.5 seconds.
That's perfect, and 34 seconds in the lane. That is almost one of the fastest lanes times we've seen today. So he's got great opportunities. So Eric Smith, Daladone are also going to jump in, as well as Clark Archer. So this has started to kick off a whole sequence for everybody. So Liam Quinn now out with fresh air, and that fresh air actually might be a good thing for you at this point in the race with how hot it is on track.
So look at that.
Dude, look at this. Yeah.
Here they come. The interval from Quinn, 35 seconds to the leader.
35 seconds,
He's
that's
on the lead lap.
That's almost the amount of lane time. So if he can increase his pace, this undercut's going to work. But remember, this is an early stop. They're only 20 laps into a stint when they came in. So Christian Challoner and those guys up ahead of them could go another 10 laps, at which point they're on faster tires. So this is all going to get very interesting as we get towards the end of this race, especially if we continue to go green. If we don't go green, Quinn is trapped way down. Bob Beltrami is the next to come in.
Still waiting on Challoner, Stouffer, Reynolds, Chin, LaHerbier. All of them have stayed out. There is our current leader, Christian Challoner. Could he be outfoxed by the two-time winner of this race? He still elects to stay out. He is not responding. Stick to the plan.
Well, for reference, Liam Quinn just did a 41.25, whereas Christian Challoner did a 41.67, so that's only about half a second difference, which is not as much as I thought Liam Quinn was going to be able to gain on those fresh tires. So I'm not yet sure who that benefits more. We'll have to see as the race goes on.
Worth pointing out that he was only about half a second back from Christian before he pitted. Granted, again, like you said, it's difficult to tell when you take into all the factors. Looks like Hall pits. Hutchison is in. Quinn cycles back up into 7th with those new stoppers.
With Smith right behind him and Deladonna behind them.
Yeah, exactly. Eric Smith has caught up to the back of Liam Quinn. Remember, Smith was 5th when he came into the pits. Quinn was in 2nd. Now, Smith right up to the back of Liam Quinn. And don't think for 1 second he's going to hesitate to try and make a pass.
Boy, what an opportunity this is going to be for Eric Smith. Michael Chin, the next one to pit. Challoner's coming around now, but he's going to stay out once again.
I think Challoner's committed at this point. He's going to go to the end of his fuel window, which is going to make this a split strategy race from these drivers who are down 6th on back from the drivers who are currently in the lead down to 5th, which is Christian Challoner, Chris Stouffer, Blake Reynolds, LaHerbier, Travis Warland, who all still have yet to pit at the front of the field.
So get out your chess instruction books, though, because the thing that really throws a wrench in all of this, if we do get a caution, who does it benefit, and when, if it falls, essentially, basically, there's so many variables that I feel like on that caution, potentially, that could change up everything. Reynolds is going to come in now. We're now at the 3/4 mark as we just hit lap 150.
To answer your question, Joe, the caution will benefit whoever is in the lead of the race, because you cannot give up fresh tires around this place with the heats we're seeing on track. You have to come in, no matter whether you put 1 lap in or 30 laps in, you have to come in. So whoever is leading the race will benefit from a caution.
Let's pick up Quinn, car number 24, just coming across the start-finish line now.
Challoner's
I'd like to see how this plays out. He's going to blow by Reynolds. There they go. Smith, Quinn, and Deladonna all blown by Reynolds, and I think they're going to do the same to Challoner when he comes in. Now it's a pay me now, pay me later type thing, like Adam was saying.
Look at this. Smith and Daladone are content on hanging out behind Quinn, so they're still saving fuel, and Quinn has to lead this pack, which means he's not making the fuel numbers. So if he's short at all, which we'll find out on the next stop, this will be interesting. But here we go. Christian Challoner out of the pits. I don't think it's going to be quite as close as we thought, because Liam Quinn is still smoking around turn 1. They're going to catch him by the time they get to the short chute.
There it is. He's on the inside. That's your trio to the outside. Quinn, Smith, and Deladone. And he's going to catch the tail of this potentially.
Yeah, he's definitely within the draft range, and he's got 6-lap pressure tires in these drivers. So, but here's the thing though, Deladone, Smith are content hanging out behind Quinn, but are they going to be content letting Christian Challenger by on a different strategy? Because this is where you have to start getting into the head of your opponents. Even though they're on different strategies, this guy is the guy you're competing with for the win. So at some point, you have to try and upset his plan.
Question as well on Challenger, with him coming out in the back of this group, if he needs to use the best of these tires compared to them, how much is the weight going to chew up what good they have in them? Apparently not too much here, as he's going to make easy meat out of Deladonna.
This is interesting. I wonder who of these drivers is thinking about that long-term strategy, because if they can hold up Christian Challenger, this pretty much negates his plan. Ooh, Eric Smith getting loose out of the corner. This will hold up Challenger a little bit, but it means that Smith cannot defend. But here comes Quinn. What is Quinn going to do? Is Quinn going to defend down the backstretch, or is he going to let Christian Challenger get by?
Did Smith just brush the wall?
Boy, I think he was given a little bit of room, and
yeah,
he gave a lot of room.
Because Challenger was to his inside, and it almost looked like he weaved into the wall. I am shocked that 7 or 8 lap tires, pressure tires, are better for the 37 to this degree. He's already going around the outside of Liam Quinn and just breezing by.
And that is why any sort of caution right now will benefit Leherbier or Warling, but they're on their last lap or two of this stint, so those two guys are going to have to come into the pits very shortly. Liam Quinn is not giving up, though. He is definitely looking for a way to get by Challenger. He has not been stuck behind anybody this race, so he still has some pretty fresh tires. But look at Challenger pull away. Liam Quinn's in the wall.
Oh. Could this be the hammer with the nail for his three-peat he was hoping for? He's already given up to Smith, who goes by. My goodness.
My clipboard says that he already used his fast repair, if I'm reading this right.
On Quinn?
Yeah.
I think he did.
No, he did. He was involved in the first wreck, remember, with his teammate Austin Espedy. So he has to write out whatever damage he has. So let's see whether or not he can maintain any sort of pace in a straight line. Deladone really struggling right now with Blake Reynolds catching up to the back of him. So looks like the tire fall off is now at about 10 laps for these drivers, with the heat continuing to increase. Chris Stouffer taking advantage of Blake Reynolds' slow pace and getting in front of him. So Christian Challenger is in the wind now ahead of these guys. Leherbier and Warling still have yet to pit. And
can you feel their family yelling at us right now that we're not paying any attention to Leherbier and Warling? They're first and second, and we're not.
They're off strategy, though.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Wow. This is getting intense.
Oh, no.
As very loose gets Deladone. The Italian catches it. He loses his momentum, but at least he can see the checkered flag after keeping the car out of the wall. Leherbier has now headed into the pits. Warling stays out.
I mean, yeah, the tires hit the cliff, but usually you can keep racing on them. That was a whole different situation for our Italian driver, Alessandro. He struggled quite a bit, but he's still going. And Stouffer is now making a move on Liam Quinn.
I like him.
Whoa. As Quinn's going to cut him off a little bit through turn one. The driver who knows exactly what Quinn is going through is Blake Reynolds. He's done this exact same thing. Had a fast car, caught some damage at the end of the race, not had his spare to save him, and unfortunately watched it slip through his fingers. In fact, I believe to that very man, Liam Quinn.
Stouffer pushing Liam Quinn, using that little draft bubble behind these IR-18s to try and get themselves back connected with Eric Smith. But Christian Challenger now inherits the lead as Travis Warling has come into the pits, and Christian is 3 seconds ahead. But here comes Stouffer to the inside of Quinn. Quinn, no challenge this time, and slot in right behind Stouffer. But here comes Blake Reynolds once again on 5-lap fresher tires than Quinn.
How is this going to play out when we get to the end? We'll find out in about 40 laps. Don't have anybody really set to come in right now. Now that Warling has finally taken his stop, he actually comes back out in 15th and still on the lead lap. Also seeing those fresh tires that Warling's got should give him some of that time back. As we watch Smith now in third in a podium position here, chasing Chris Stouffer. Bill, you've watched Stouffer in many of these IR18 races before.
Yeah, in the Lionheart series, but that's in a fixed setup. He's got an open setup now. I'm really impressed with what he's doing here. The guy can race and whatever. He loves the Dallara IR18.
All right, so we've been saying this all day now. Tires are more important than fuel, so do you split it? Do you split the rest of this race evenly if you're Liam Quinn, or do you try and go to the end of your fuel window here?
I would say split it evenly. I admittedly am not a smart man, though, so...
Well, I'm not sure how good Quinn's car is. I'm afraid when Quinn comes in, there might be some repairs that are coming his way that's going to hurt him.
That was kind of my thought. Reynolds is going to get by him now. So Reynolds now moves up to 4th and Quinn down to P5. I definitely think that damage is hurting him because he seemed off pace ever since he clipped it.
The one driver that's a sleeper now raced up front early, car number 29 in 7th. He just can't get up there with those guys. Remember, Clark Archer, until he did what he did, was pretty darn competitive.
Yeah, but Clark also dealing with a loose race car, and here comes Michael Chin, who pitted a little bit after him, who's going to come up and try and challenge him for this 7th position. Clark Archer looking on at Alessandro Deldon and Liam Quinn up ahead, so he's trying to get himself back up there. He's well within striking distance, but he's going to need another caution to try and get up there in the fight. And these guys are getting no respite from the heat. Our track temperature has not decreased. Still 126 Fahrenheit, 52 degrees Celsius.
Reynolds is on the move. Reynolds just overtook Smith. That's going to give him 3rd place. Next on his list is going to be Stouffer. What do their laps look like compared to each other? Let's look at the replay. I'm going to look at laps while we pull this up.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at this, but remember that Eric Smith is on older tires by about 5 laps than Blake Reynolds. So this is where the difference comes in, and I think that's exactly why you may be right, Joe, that splitting this race into
let's go to Quinn.
Parts.
Oh my goodness, he saved it. Get a replay on Quinn. He got touched by Deladonna. The car was going in the wall.
He's very slow on the front stretch now. We'll get to the replay here in a second as things settle out. Chin is going to stay behind. This happened in turn 4. Actually started in turn 3. Almost made contact, and then they came together again.
He goes to make the pass. This thing was coming around.
This is in 2. We're looking for 3. So at the end of the back stretch, the Italian catches him, and he takes a look. Now Quinn gives him space. I think there's just the lightest brush between them here. Oh, it's tight.
Hang on, though. Boom.
Oh.
Puff of smoke. Car keeps going. But the bad day for Liam Quinn gets worse. He's now down to 6th out of that as Archer got by.
Yeah, I mean, Liam Quinn is actually doing a decent job at maintaining pace with that damaged vehicle, but he's got to be fuming right now because he almost got sent into the wall by one of his competitors, but Alessandro has actually fallen back a little bit, so Liam Quinn is now a little bit behind Clark Archer, and this actually creates a train all the way back to Vincent Leherbier, actually. Oh, look at this. Samuel Roush just fell off the back of Deldone by about a couple seconds. So, yeah, so this is a 3-car train now.
Joe, you called it. Look what Reynolds is doing.
And fact, he's making easy work of the lapped car there. That was Brian McGreevy that they were going by. As we ride on board, looking up ahead.
There he goes.
Fresh rubber, higher speed, easy pass.
Up into second now.
4 seconds up to Challoner, his old rival. Fought against him for many races at this point in this series.
Now, Challoner has a unique situation that he hasn't dealt with much today, and that's because the lap traffic is usually more spread out by the time he gets there, but Christian Challoner is dealing with lap cars, and these lap cars will want to be trying to stay on the lead lap here. That being said, Christian Challoner's pace is significantly higher than these cars that he's dealing with, but they're not necessarily inclined to let him by easily through the corners. They might let him by in the straights, though.
Speaking of lapped cars, one who I thought would have been lapped with him going long is Vincent L'Herbier, but he stayed on the lead lap, and he's been running faster times than our leader right now. He's down in 10th. He's gaining on Roush with much fresher tires underneath him on Vincent. So Vincent, one to watch out for, with him being on this different strategy, making good use of what he's got as we now ride on board with Christian Challoner down the front stretch. Up next for him is Michael Peters.
And Blake Reynolds actually chopped 1 second out of Christian Challoner's lead because of the lap traffic that lap. And Michael Peters very slow through the corners. Christian is going to have to hold up for him, and that's going to make him slow on the backstretch as well as he has to take evasive action there. So Blake Reynolds able to gain even more time.
Down to 2.1 seconds. And you know what's curious is Chris Stouffer has grabbed onto those coattails of the number 3, and I think he's riding around behind him now.
He's definitely riding around behind him and just hanging on there. He's hanging on for the fuel mileage, for the pace. And he's just going to follow Blake Reynolds all the way up to Christian Challoner if that's what happens here. But remember that we've got a couple of drivers that are going to have to come into pit very shortly, and that's Eric Smith, Clark Archer, Liam Quinn, who are all on 24 and 25 lap old tires, and they're going to be starting to try and think about splitting this race up a little bit. But look at this, Stouffer actually making a move on Blake Reynolds here. Stouffer has 2 lap younger tires, and he's able to complete that move with a nice drift through 3.
Interesting. So back up to P2 for the number 46. Started 3rd on the grid. A gain of 1 after 170 laps. If anybody did want to risk being on old tires at the end, now is the time which they could be able to come in and make it to the finish.
Yep, they come in now, get fresh rubber, fill it all the way up, and you're good to go.
I don't think that that's the way to go, if I'm honest, but
Yeah, I would want the fresher tires towards the end of the run, and especially when you're falling back already as much as Liam Quinn is, I'd hold out here and try and go as far as I can on this stint so I can have fresher tires by the end of the race.
But if you come in now, you get fresh tires, and then the yellow flag comes out in about 15 laps, everybody comes in again.
All right, fine, Soup, you're right.
I think Quinn's, I suspect he needs to get a little bit of damage repaired, though. Remember, he's off the pace slightly. So his hand was almost forced on this one. We got someone else in. That's Sam Roush following him.
There's only one problem with all our strategies, and it's Christian Challoner, because whatever you do, you still got to deal with him.
Yeah, Challoner still running up in the lead. Stouffer, who is now back into second recently. Oh, wow, Blake Reynolds. Did he use up his stuff? Oh, Reynolds is coming in. Well, he fell back very quickly from Chris Stouffer. So maybe he took the best out of those tires and has decided now as good a time as any.
This is an early stop for him. He was only on 22 lap old tires there. So Blake Reynolds, the first of our people who stopped a little bit later than Liam Quinn to stop. So this is interesting.
And speaking of Quinn, he came out right in front of Christian Challoner. He stayed on the lead lap, but just barely. Now he should be able to run away since Challoner's on 21 lap old tires. Almost looked like he was ready to try and play defense on the leader.
Oh, he definitely will be. Challoner is in the draft, though.
He may get him.
And here's the thing, is that Challoner being in the draft may actually negate this undercut that Liam Quinn's trying to achieve, because Challoner's going to be able to hang on to the back of him.
Or will he? Look at him fall off through the corners. Remember, we saw him struggle earlier with the wake of the car ahead on old tires. That car...
Sorry, Eric Smith missed his box by quite a bit.
Oh, no. After the good race that he's had, that is an absolute shame. A long stop for the 32. He's back going once again. But after looking at potentially fighting for a podium, this could cost him spraying the champagne.
Okay, so remember, Reynolds is out there running on new stuff now. There's a real chance that when Challoner comes out, Reynolds will be ahead of him.
Right, but he's going to be on older tires, though. So that makes it so that Christian Challoner, yes, he has to fight to get ahead, but these guys are going to be fighting the extreme tightness that we've seen all race, and they're not really going to be in a position to defend. So Michael Chin is in now from the 4th position, and he's going to get some tires and some service. Bob Beltrami also unfortunately misses his box a little bit.
Yeah, so essentially what you're saying here, Adam, is that for Challoner, it's he's going to spend more laps on average on fresh rubber than we're seeing these guys who pitted early. Because if we don't get that caution, that's where it all comes out in the wash.
Absolutely, and every position that Challoner is making is a position that he's going to retain at the end of the race if we don't get a caution. So these drivers who have been letting him go, they're going to have to start fighting him, because that might be the difference between winning the Indy 500 or not.
So
Smith was able to make his stop and came out just in front of Challoner, who is now coming in.
Okay, so Challoner going for the split even strategy. As he trundles down, Stouffer stays out.
And Liam Quinn is our first car having pit. He is now on the back stretch going through 3 and 4. Blake Reynolds has fallen off a little bit behind Liam Quinn. So here, this is going to be the battle for the lead here. Christian Challoner dropped off the jacks. Liam Quinn exiting 4. This is not going to be as tight as it was before, guys.
Oh, no. I think so. Quinn's not even going to go by him. This is a slam dunk for the 37. He's already up to the short chute here. Quinn is just coming through turn 1. Yeah, Challoner will be easily ahead by the time he gets out of turn 4 here. So look at the gap.
So should we finish under green, the pass for the win would have happened at about lap 140, about 15 minutes ago.
By the way, Stouffer finally pits. Travis Worling stays out. He can't make it to the finish. He's 19 laps in. How about this one for you, Bill? This will make you feel good. Brian Barnes up to 4th. Granted, he's on lap 31 for his stint.
That is a pretty looking car, though.
So as Barnes comes off of turn 2, that'll cycle him up to 3rd, just ahead of Stouffer, but Stouffer should easily go by. Actually, no, Liam Quinn just went by Stouffer. So this will be interesting between Quinn and Stouffer. Who is quicker? They're both on fresh tires, but Stouffer more so. In fact, he's looking to go around the outside of the slow car, and Barnes has nowhere to go except watch them go on either side, and it is going to be Stouffer who wins out on that move.
Stouffer being very opportunistic there, but this is theoretically the final stint of the race. We're on lap 178 of 200. These are the closing portions, folks. So if you're going to make a move, you got to make it now, and Stouffer is gone.
How cool was Barnes? Popsicle cool, baby.
I'm glad he didn't have to pit in that lap, because that would have spelled disaster for him. He's continuing to bleed spots back there. That's Reynolds and Smith you see going by him.
Barnes is trying to get to pit lane. He finally manages to find a gap and is able to do so, but those were a couple stressful corners for him.
Yeah, I feel like he should have tucked the car down to the inside a little earlier there, but it all worked out. Challenger now is your leader after all the drivers who needed to take their final stop have taken them, save for a few of the runners in the back. But up with the top 10, it is Challenger, Stouffer, Quinn, Reynolds, Smith, Chin, Delladonna, Archer, LeHerbier, and Roush. They're all split by about 18 seconds, and they're all on varying strategies.
So Christian Challenger has to just maintain his gap and his lead. He's going to be just looking at that interval and making sure that he keeps it steady. Christopher has two tasks in front of him. The first is catch up to the back of Christian Challenger. The second is do so without running out of tires so that you can pass him once you catch him. Those are two difficult tasks, and they're a little bit contradictory.
Isn't it cool that his parents, his name is Christopher, they gave him a name that's like Christopher? It's cool.
Trust me, I've thought that a lot. So 2.2 seconds up to Christian Challenger with one lap fresher tires on him. Not a huge margin on that. But then again, it's open setup. That could play a part in this. We're right on board with the 46. Bill, we're down to 20 to go, and we don't have the voice on the air that would usually say this. Would you like to do the honors?
Put on your disco shoes. Get that mirrored ball a spinning. It's time to boogie. 20 to go.
The slow car. Oh, that's a caller in the wall. That's Hayes. That's going to be a caution. As they say, this changes everything.
Yeah.
He hit
Wade
the wall
Hayes.
at a 2.
Yeah,
The
Wade
33.
Hayes. Well, that's the disco you were talking about, Soup. Things are about to get very exciting here.
I saw that slow car, and I thought it was just the lap car letting them through. And it turned out he was stuck to the outside because all the cars were so fast. He hit the wall so hard. Here's the replay. He's coming down the front stretch. You're going to see it on the exit of the second corner. He just understeers. Yeah, out she goes.
Oh.
And it was like a magnet.
Adam, that is not what Christian Challenger needed.
No, it's not. But that being said, he has outfoxed Liam Quinn every single restart that they have been nose to tail. He's managed to be ahead on the fall off lap, which has been around lap 10 at these current temperatures. But speaking of these current temperatures, guys, they're starting to fall. We have dropped down to 124 degrees on track Fahrenheit, 51 degrees Celsius. Things are starting to shift.
Out your parka, 124. My goodness. As let's see. Now here's the big question here, Adam. Who pits?
Oh,
everybody.
With the fresh tires?
They
Oh,
all
100%. Yeah, everybody.
coming. And your
Go for
brother.
in. Looking to see if we got any gamblers. Clark Archer. Archer on the lead
way.
lap is going to stay out.
Okay.
God,
This is going to be an exciting restart if he decides to stay out for the entire time. He might be going around one more time and then coming back in, maybe. But
He wanted
if
to come-
he stays out.
yeah. Maybe he wanted to come in and fooled himself and stayed out by mistake.
Didn't want to play
This-
that game again.
This could change the dynamic of this entire race up front because Clark Archer is going to be really tight as he goes through 3 and 4 on the first lap. And whoever's trying to pass him, Clark's not gonna let them go on the inside. He's gonna make them go on the outside. So they're gonna have to be very careful on that outside line and keep their eyes on Clark.
All right. Archer and Centel are your two that stayed out to get that track position.
I don't
So-
see Adam, I don't see a strategy to stay out and come in now. I mean, if you're going to come in, you want to come in on that last lap because you'd be well at the back now if you come in. So yeah.
And Soup, if this was a real life race, I'm 100% with you. But I have seen stranger things in the races that we've been broadcasting here recently. And so I'm not going to put it past Clark quite yet that he's got something weird up his sleeve here. But we are going to restart with about 15 to go, which will make this a very interesting race for sure.
So is that better for Challenger? Probably not. Challenger probably would have liked to have clear track ahead of him. Now he's got to deal with that. He's got Quinn behind him and Stouffer. Yeah.
And he's also got 4 lapped cars on top of Archer and Centel up ahead of him, which could make things very interesting.
Maybe they're going to come in this time, though, no?
Well, yeah, he's hoping they come in, whereas Archer wants them to stay out.
Archer
Some
stays.
are. Tam and Hollick are in. The others don't.
Oh, boy. Okay, so Archer is staying out, Brian McGreevy stayed out as well, and Matt Centel stayed out. So it's going to be 3 cars up ahead of Christian Chandler. Christian's going to be starting on a first car on the out. Well, this is a single file restart, so he's going to be 4 cars back of Clark Archer, with Brian McGreevy sandwiched in between Clark Archer and Matt Centel. This makes things very, very interesting going into 1 and 2.
Lights are out. We will restart on lap 185. So 16 lap sprint to the end. This will be interesting. And 11 lap fresher tires for Christian Challoner, which we've seen makes a momentous difference in your pace. I mean, they always say if you're going to win at Indy, it takes a little bit of luck on top of the skill. And I think Clark Archer is rolling the dice here.
Well, with a yellow flag, he's only 13 laps away from winning it, if he gets the yellow flag in the right spot. So the best
Considering
of luck
how
to
the race has been going, that's an even longer shot because it's been a relatively clean race.
He doesn't want to be the caution either, which is he's at the biggest risk of at the moment.
Lights out means we are going back racing here. Clark Archer with Brian McGreevy just behind him, and Matt Centel, 1 more car back from that, are being chased by Christian Challoner. But it looks like that lapped car immediately moving to the low side. In fact, McGreevy's going to completely pull out of the way and go through pit lane, so that removes all the lapped cars between them. Centel is basically the only hope for Archer as he takes the green flag. As they start, where did Centel go?
Challoner's gone. Centel didn't go at all. And so Stouffer is now miles behind, and Liam Quinn's sandwich on the bottom of Eric Smith. Matt Centel very slow on the bottom line. Blake Reynolds going to try and go around the outside, but Liam Quinn is going to sneak by now. So here we go. Things getting very crazy early, and that caution you were talking about might be happening sooner than we think.
I was just thinking that. It certainly was a little bit risky back there, and they all made it through okay. Smith is still fighting with Stouffer for that 3rd position. Another bizarre incident in a very strange Indy 500. Archer this time across the line, and Challoner is in! Is Challoner getting a black flag for passing before the line? I think Challoner's being penalized.
Matt Centel threw a wrench in this entire race, and this might ruin Challoner's 100% run in the majors.
Oof. I think Centel might want to go and find a hiding place after the checkered flag from Christian Challoner. He's not going to be happy with that one. So Quinn, 1.5 seconds back from Clark Archer, has got a mountain to climb, but and we got a caution!
David Hall going around, as well as Josh Culley in the 388.
Oh, big incidents there ahead of Hall. There's Hall trying to get the car turned around.
Whoa.
And that was Beltrami at the very end. Beltrami and Hollick get into it at the very end. We're going to want to look at this a few times.
So this starts with David Hall clipping the curb to the inside.
Whoa.
And then everybody taking avoiding action kind of sets loose a chain reaction.
That's Beltrami going into pit lane.
We're going to take a look at this from Bob's perspective as he takes the wildest ride here.
Oh, he almost caught it too.
Oh, boy.
He was through, and then he got clipped.
Oh.
And, drama meantime.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't have too much salami in his belly right now.
Hey.
Broken our director, I think, with that one. So I'm guessing, well,
Okay.
Archer is committed at this point, so Archer definitely doesn't pit. But what about everybody behind him?
Well, maybe not. Maybe he can come in with 5 laps. Maybe people have to
Well,
come in.
wait, no, okay. Smith waved by?
No, he
Well,
was
that
just
was
playing around.
bizarre.
Okay,
Okay.
so just an update on Christian Challenger. He did not lose a lap. He's back in 19th position, but I
Whoa.
mean, he's got no way to get back up to the front unless everybody pits,
Oh,
which they
14,
didn't.
14 laps with fresh tires. Everyone else has 5-lap old tires. That's doable. Wow, that's doable.
Yeah, and he's coming in now. I think he's making the. No, he's not. He was looking like it. Almost seemed like he was going to try and make the best of it, but I think he saw enough drivers pitting. He's decided to stay out. So where is this going to put him? Up to 15th, it looks like.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's one of those restarts where they'd wave the yellow, the last one that we had, where they'd wave the yellow again and put it under review and try and figure everything out. Because that was complete chaos, and it's really changed the whole complexion of this race.
Let's take another look at that. I think we got a replay spooled up for that restart. See if we can try and suss out what Sintel did. So we're looking at Smith here, and Matt is in the 91. There he is right there in the blue and white.
Now let's stay here. This is good. The nice wide angle. We'll see what's going on.
Yeah, we'll watch an onboard after this.
So the lap car pulls away. Maybe he was afraid to pass the lap car before he went into pit lane because remember the cone is a little bit further into the lane. I think that's exactly what he was afraid of. The lap car had not hit the pit lane cone yet, and he didn't want to get the black flag for passing by.
That'll give us an idea kind of what he was seeing here. He was holding back, and
I bet you he was getting. He might even been getting the thing to stay behind the car.
I think he was.
That's a good call.
Well, I'm glad we went back and looked at that. That at least that puts a little bit of blame away from Sintel there on what happened.
So, Adam, would Challenger have an opportunity to get new tires on that serving the penalty, or?
Huh. Sorry, 1 second. Can we go on board with Chris Stouffer for a moment?
Right now?
Right now. He is on the rev limiter. I think he's trying to burn off fuel.
Interesting.
That's funny.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, sorry, Super. Ask your question again.
Well, I think Stouffer needs to fly out over the ocean to do that or something, doesn't he? To dump fuel? I don't know.
Absolutely.
Okay, did Challenger, would he get new tires when he has to serve that penalty? Do you think he's on fresh rubber now?
No, it was simply a stop and go. He is not on fresh rubber.
And he can't afford to come in because it's about, he'd have to sacrifice about 6 positions. So
he's made his bed. He's gonna have to deal with the penalty. Unfortunately, I know it was a rough one, but I mean, on the one hand, it's rough for everybody, but on the other hand, it's kind of good we had this caution again because Clark Archer was gone. Yep. He was 1.5 seconds up in front.
Guys, we're going to get an 11-lap shootout to the end. Now, caution could still end it, and we could get one more that would allow us to get a last restart, but we can't risk it too much here. How much are the drivers willing to risk it? Certainly, Clark Archer is going to have pressure from Quinn this time. I think
Archer has to be careful about getting too far in front here. I know that seems silly.
Pulled over here. You usually want to hold the outside. And he goes. Green flag is out. Is this going to be our final restart? Immediately, everybody weaving to try and get this slipstream. Look at Stouffer already challenging for third on Eric Smith, looking around the outside into turn 1. Doesn't quite get the run that he needs. Archer has pulled ahead. Is it far enough ahead, though? Or is Liam Quinn going to make him a sitting duck?
They're definitely behaving like this is the last restart up here in the front. Clark Archer, though, a sitting duck for sure. Liam Quinn with quite ahead of Steve is going to look to the inside. Eric Smith's going to try and follow him through. Clark Archer, a sitting duck on the outside on those older tires. Christopher now almost going to make it 3 wide through the short chute as they go through 4. It's Liam Quinn over Eric Smith. Clark Archer and Christopher still side by side.
Smith manages to make it through. Stouffer still wheel to wheel here with Clark Archer. In fact, Archer's got a good head of steam, and he's pulling ahead of him. They barely make it single file down into the first corner, but Archer starts to drift up off the corner. Those older tires are making him pay the price. Stouffer gets through. Up on the high side, he's got nothing. Chin now overtaking. There goes the hope for Clark Archer to try and win this race. It is now up to Quinn, Smith, and Stouffer.
Stouffer saw Smith back out, and now he's trying to go around the outside of the corner through 3 and 4. He's going to make that stick. Stouffer with his IR18 experience here with quite a run. Liam Quinn is not going to defend well enough. Stouffer is going to make the lead here.
Oh, they come together!
Contact!
Smith is watching this. He knows that his chance is coming if he can get there. Still wheel to wheel coming through turn 1. Quinn giving him space to the inside. Stouffer riding that white line down at the bottom. Here comes the run down the back stretch, and Eric Smith is getting a double toe. Chin along with them. He's going to hang back as Smith gives it a go. He's going to get both of them, and Smith is your new leader.
But look at this, Liam Quinn holding strong on the outside. The outside is strong.
Oh, they come together again! Big wreck, and Quinn is out of the field through the fence. Smith is tumbling. Oh, and that's going to cause more wrecking behind him.
We will go back green, Joe. This race isn't over.
Bennett and Hill, the other two, they got caught up in that. Oh. So the three-peat is officially off the cards as Quinn disappears through the fence.
It was 3 wide through the corner. Stouffer drifted high. Unfortunately, Liam Quinn was there. Oh, just heartbreaking for both of those drivers as they were battling so hard. No, that was not Stouffer, rather. That was Eric Smith who ended up drifting high into the corner, and then Liam Quinn into the grandstands.
Let's get an onboard from Challoner if we can. He might have got through. Might have had to push his way through.
He is up to 9th, but he has right front wing damage. We're going to see it right here how he collects it.
I think he had to work, do a little elbow to get through this one.
Oh, there's the contact.
That's Steve Driscoll, who's had a bad day already.
Amazing how cruel this track can be. You look at how dominant Quinn was, how dominant Challoner was. Both of them out of it now. I really can't see a scenario where they can win this race.
It's hard not to anthropomorphize this place, but I swear Indianapolis Motor Speedway has like a malevolent conscience that says, I will punish you and I will punish you. You I will let pass. I really think you got to be lucky and you have to avoid the wrath of this racetrack.
And Christian Challoner coming into the pits, he thinks he has too much damage to be competitive out there. So unfortunately, his attempt to try and win this is done. Out of all of our drivers at the front, the most experienced Majors Series driver in the field is going to be Blake Reynolds in that 3rd position. Alessandro Dardone is going to be in 2nd, and Chris Stouffer is going to be 3rd. Christian Challoner takes his fast repair.
I think Reynolds is a good bet here today. And I'm pretty sure this is one of the ones that has gotten away from Blake, if I'm not mistaken. We'll see if we can get some stat guys on that. But I don't think Reynolds has yet won a Majors Indy 500, despite some of his dominance in seasons past. Delladonna, who would have thought? Delladonna, who would have expected him to be in for a shot at the win? We are getting information that of his 15 wins, and Indy 500 is not among any of them.
Look for Delladonna to be leading across the start-finish line when we go green. I don't think he'll be able to hold it, but I don't know if you want to be the leader when we go green. You are really just... They'll get you.
I thought I heard an engine explode somewhere.
I did too. I'm not sure. Might have been.
Yeah, it might not have been on track. but I'm pretty sure Stouffer was doing another one of his fuel burning things.
He
'Cause
is
I heard
now.
someone revving their engine very high.
Or
There
Stouffer's
you
not
go.
doing it. It's actually Michael Chin who is doing it. So
Ah.
as we come down the start finish line, yeah, things are definitely going to be spicy here on this restart. Now, we did have some drivers who did take a pit stop, Christian Challenger being one of them. So Christian's back in 17th, and he will have fresh tires and fuel.
I think he hadn't used his spare
There
car
you go.
yet, correct?
Correct, yes.
So
New tires, 7 laps,
it's
and
gonna gain a few
12
spots
cars,
here.
13 cars between him and the lead. He'll get 5 on the first lap, 3 on the next lap, 2 on the next lap. You don't think he can get there by the time? We'll see.
This is going to be tense. This time, we will have the end of the race if we get another caution flag, as we are restarting with 5 to go. Chris Stouffer probably wouldn't mind that too much.
You cannot afford to not be in the lead now because the yellow is going to end the race. And
Exactly.
with everything that's going on behind him, you got to be out in front.
So expect some 3-wide action, some possibly 4-wide
Yep.
action as they go down the backstretch, because that's where everybody's going to have a run, and the people further back are going to have better runs than those ahead of them, no matter how many cars it is. And so it's going to be some interesting chaos here. Expect Blake Reynolds to make some moves and Michael Chin to be a little bit opportunistic here.
Bill, you like to be a betting man usually. Who's your money on?
Belladonna.
Ah, interesting.
I look for him to get to the lead and catch a lucky yellow.
I'm wondering if we've ever had an Italian win in America's region of the majors race. Another stat I'd like to know. So we are going to decide it in 5 more laps, because as the pace car pulls into the pit lane, Stouffer has control this time. He's waiting. He's giving it a long time. Now he is off. Green flag is out for the final laps of the 2020 Majors Indy 500. Behind them, Belladonna, we know he's going to get the run on the backstretch. What about Reynolds, though? Are both of them going to be able to sneak by?
That was an absolutely beautiful little bit of waiting that Stouffer did there to start this race. But look at this, Daldone and Blake Reynolds with heads of steam as they head down the backstretch. They're definitely going to be able to get to the inside of Stouffer. But the question is, who's going to be there? Ooh, Daldone with a nice little block there as they head into 3. He's going to be very deep on the corner. Blake Reynolds now below Stouffer. Daldone out free right now. Stouffer hanging strong on the high side. He's going to maintain that position. Here comes Michael Chin to the inside of Blake Reynolds. They're all going to go down to the bottom of the track.
Here, Closa the Adora.
And Sam Roush is in there, 5th car in line. Clark Archer gives watch, but without the fresh tires, I'm not sure if he can do it. Alessandro to the inside, working on Chris Stouffer. He's got a nose ahead, and he's got the shorter line. Stouffer doesn't quite get the shot that he needs. Here comes Chin. Chin is the one with the slipstream, and he's going to make it 3 wide, going the long way around, down into turn 3. This might not end well between them. Chin doesn't have the grip, way out in the gray stuff. He has to fall back, and Roush moves into 3rd.
Roush with a very great head of steam here, but so does Stouffer. Stouffer's going to have to go to the outside because Alessandro Daldone go to the inside. Daldone's going to try and block here. Now it's going to be 2 by 2 as they go across. Maybe it's going to be 3 wide. No, Daldone moves up the lane. So here comes Michael Chin in 3rd position. Samuel Roush trying to go underneath him. And for the lead, Chris Stouffer on the outside of Daldone.
This is tight. If they can get to the white flag, it'll finish under green, so not much more. Look at them duck down to the inside. Everybody trying to cover it off. Chris Stouffer has at least a little bit of an overlap. They're having to check up behind them. There's no place to go for Chin or Roush, and yet we see Stouffer cannot complete the pass. Now it's a battle for 3rd between Chin and Roush, side by side through turn 4. Roush is going to get ahead as the leaders once again go wheel to wheel down to the yard of bricks. 2 to go.
Stouffer has to do it now. He has to do it right now. Otherwise, he's going to be trapped out by Daldone. He has to get the run on him down the backstretch. He's trying to hold strong on that high side. The tires are starting to go. Remember, these are older tires. He's going to slip in line behind Daldone. Where's Daldone going to go? He's going to go look to the bottom side. Here we come down the backstretch. Stouffer to the outside. Can he make it stick? Here we come to the line last time through 3 and 4. Second to last time, rather.
2 more corners and we'll have a green flag finish if we can make it side by side. Stouffer is hanging tough, but the Italian is still going to deny him as they come off the final turn. White flag waves, and here we go, another wrench in the mix because Sam Roush is here. As they go side by side, he's going to try and go the long way around once again. It hasn't worked yet. Can he do it this time? Is he going to try and back it up? He can't really afford to with Roush there. Deladona, still our leader. Roush falls off and he actually hits the wall. He is out of this race. He's awful close off the back of him, but Stouffer's going to go for it. He's going to try and work the long way around, see if he can take this lead away by force on the final lap around the last 2 corners of 500 miles. Deladona denies him once again. It's going to be a drag race. Can he slipstream by? What does Stouffer have for him? He moves to the outside. It's going to be a photo finish. Who's it going to be as they bang wheels? It's Deladona. The Italian wins it by 3/1000ths of a second.
Unbelievable!
What a race. 5 laps to the finish. Just incredible.
Payday for Soup Zahn as well. What a race!
As he gets a little congratulatory smash there from Blake Reynolds. Let's take another look at that. Unbelievable.
I think the bump slowed him down, don't you?
It did. It did. It slowed down Stouffer. We're gonna see it here as they exit 1 and as they exit 3 and 4. Deladona just comes back up the track a little bit, makes a little bit of door-to-door contact with Stouffer, and that was just enough to hold him off at the line.
Whew, that has got to be nerve-wracking. Crossing it with inches to spare and taking a 500-mile race down to the last few feet to decide this one. Deladona is going to take it to the Yard of Bricks to celebrate here. So as he does that, even though he can't get out and virtually kiss those bricks, I think it's time for us to take a breather. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around for all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I don't think we could have had a more thrilling finish to the end of 500 miles of racing here at this track for the majors. Alessandro Della wound up taking the win from 14th on the grid, and it came down to a measly 3/1000ths of a second at the line. There's already been some mumblings, though, from drivers about that finish with the side-to-side contact. Stouffer could potentially maybe try and protest that. We'll see if he does or not. Still, he wound up with a second place ahead of Michael Chin. We didn't even get to cover that he wound up taking the third. And Travis Warling coming back. Here I was playing him down all race. He wound up fourth. So that will give him nice points. Blake Reynolds as well with a top 5 today. Clark Archer, in the end, with his risky move, did give him a 6th place. I say that was worth it. Vincent L'Herbier with a 7th, which was ironically exactly where he started. Josh Cully went from 30th to 8th. Then you've got David Hall finishing 9th after starting 33rd. And then Brian Barnes rounds out the top 10 from dead last on the field.
Steve Driscoll's going to come home in 11th today, which is actually a really good performance considering all the trouble he had. Matt Santel comes home in 12th after causing the second to last caution. Well, actually, the second to last starting incident, unfortunately. Lyndon Swaby comes home in 13th position with Samuel Roush in 14th after battling for the lead, dropping down there. Wayne Hutchison comes home in 15th spot with Rob Gall in 16th. Christian Challoner, after getting that unfortunate penalty, relegated to 17th position after getting his spare car being involved in that last wreck. And we have Michael Peters in 18th position with Richard Tam recovering to 19th after some connection issues that dropped him down those 2 laps. And then your last in 20th is going to be Kevin Hill.
In blackjack, it's Brian McGreevy. In the double duck spot, it's Adam Hollick. Then we get to all the drivers that ran into trouble not just once, but twice to use up their spare car. 23rd, Brian Bennett. Eric Smith, we saw what he could do. He gets the double dozens position. In the quarter century mark is Liam Quinn, Bob Beltrami, Wade Hayes, Lionel Little Train Callisto in 28th, 29th and 30th, Ryan Tomei, and Nick Kuhn. I'll just take the rest of these for you, Joe. Jonathan Mendoza in 31st. Austin Espety, our pole sitter, will have to settle for 32nd. The last 2 drivers, Sam Harris and Richard McKillor.
And our first driver we're going to talk to is our winner, hopefully grabbing some milk from the fridge. But Alessandro, I'm guessing you couldn't shout as much as you maybe wanted to because it's got to be late at night over there in Italy.
Oh yeah, I'm really looking forward to go to bed, to be fair. I think the milk I will have it for tomorrow for breakfast with some cereal. So I don't want to wake up all my neighbors.
Now, obviously, I'm not looking to incriminate you with your own words or anything, but we understand that the stewards are reviewing the finish. From your perspective, how do you see that with what happened coming to the line?
It's racing. If the stewards think that it's not fair, obviously I will totally agree with it because it's their job, and I totally understand if they will concede the win to the second place guy. But you always have to try the best. I tried everything I got. It's a major event. Obviously, when you are there for first position, you try everything and push to the limit. Otherwise, you are not a racing driver.
Stealing some famous words there. So I have to say then, with you showing up, I believe at least once more in the majors that we've covered, do you plan to keep sticking around for the Americas region?
Oh yeah, I'm trying to do the championship, but I'm not really consistent. I don't practice a lot. I didn't even practice a lot for this race, to be fair. I never turned more than 10 laps on my set in an entire stint, so I don't know how I ended up here in possible first position. We will see if what is going to be the response later on. But yeah, other than that, I don't care where I finish. I finished first, second, disqualified. I had fun, and in my heart, I feel like I won this race. Then if I get second, I don't care, to be fair. It's a game.
I can understand the emotions. Before you take off, is there anybody you want to thank for this victory?
Oh yeah, for sure. I want to thank my boys at Wolfpack Esport who were still finishing their sportsman split. They really helped me a lot in these few tough hours, and I had a lot of fun, which is all it matters to me. And other than that, Not really. I just want to say thank you to everybody who supported me, and I hope I made some people happy, especially some haters or people who are really known in the community of IndyCar to be very, very rude and more wrecker than riders.
Again, congratulations. Go enjoy some milk. That was our winner, Alessandro Dalladonna. Hopefully, provisionally
Ugh,
here as we are waiting
rules,
for word from stewards.
rules be darned. He's so
All right.
likable. Give him the win. My God, what a good guy.
Well, one
Up
guy who
next,
might
though,
not
Adam
agree
is,
with
yeah.
one guy
Okay.
who might not agree with that is our next guest, Chris Stouffer. Chris, talk to us about that run to the line. That looked like some stressful racing right there, up there against the wall.
Oh yeah, I didn't have anywhere to go. I backed out a little bit in the short shoot to make sure to get behind him so I could get a good run to the finish and timed it beautifully. Did everything I could right there, everything I should have. But he weaved up the track and got into me, banged, banging wheels with me, trying to put me in the wall, and yeah, that's kind of the way I see it.
Well, talk to me about the rest of the race. It was not the cleanest race for you. You got into the outside wall one time, but you managed to be able to recover your way back to the lead. And it was really those last couple laps that were seemed to be you on your best form. So how was the rest of the race? It looked really hot out there.
Oh yeah, the car was sliding around all over the place. It was you're really trying to chase it too, and with the wind, there was a wicked push in turn three, so it made it really hard to pass there. Um, I did get in the wall early on in the race and managed to recover from that and stay up towards the front. And then of course the I didn't want that last caution to come out when Christian was up front there, and we were still under that green flag stint. I was starting to run him down. I had a good car in traffic, and in the mid to long run, it fell off at the end of the run. But I think everybody's car was really fighting him at the end of the runs. But I didn't want that caution to come out. I wanted to be able to run him down and see if I could run him down. I was 2 seconds back at that point and had a shot at it, but it's not the way it fell, and you know, uh, kind of felt like I got robbed in the end.
Well, Chris, still a great race, and coming home second is nothing to be ashamed of. We're going to keep our eyes on the stewards as they take a look at this. But is there anyone you want to thank for your second place today?
Yeah, actually, I'll thank the entire Power Slide team. Adam, Henry, Andrew, they put a lot of time into the setups and everything, and so I wouldn't even be here at the end of the race if it wasn't for those guys putting all the time in that they did. So I want to thank.
All right, that was Chris Stouffer, our second place finisher. And it looks like we also have Blake Reynolds, who came home in fifth today, who's talking with Soup.
Blake, you were there. You just one too many incidents.
Yeah, I got the wall like 4 times that race, and then I ended up using my fast repair on the first one, so that kind of hurt me for the rest of the race. I didn't have any optional though; I couldn't fix it, so I just my top speed was like 222, I think, there at the end, and before I was doing like 226 in the corners.
How much different was the car at the beginning of the run and at the end of the run? And did the track temperature that kept going up make anything different as the race got old?
Well, I ran more downforce just because I figured. Well, I didn't actually know how my setup was going to stack up. You know, Dogberry, we put in the time, but we're not really front runners. So the set was actually awesome. And later in the run, just a lot of downforce. I could see my tires and then really destroy those kinetic cars that were more trimmed out. But problem is, when I try to keep up with the kinetic cars, my car doesn't know what to do, so my tires die, and that's what ended up getting me in the wall those couple times.
Well, man, you always put on a good show. Congratulations on a fifth place finish. Always fun to watch a race. Good luck next time.
Yep, thank you.
Blake Reynolds, fifth overall.
Soup, you were making a note here about
Yeah,
a similar finish we've had in real life at
the
Indy. So this is not unprecedented.
the coincidences are just too many to ignore. Born in Italy, the man on top of the trophy of the majors is Mario Andretti. Born in Italy, our winner here, Asala della Donna. In 1981, Bobby Unser drank the milk and was awarded the win. 5 in the morning the next morning, Mario Andretti gets a call saying you are the winner because Bobby Unser passed too many cars under the yellow. Mario Andretti was the 1981 champion at the Indy 500 for 4 months. He got the keys to the pace car. He has the championship ring until Roger Penske got some good lawyers together and took it away from Mario, and that's why Bobby Unser is the 1981 Indianapolis 500 winner. If you think controversy only happens in the real world, no, it happens here in sim racing as well.
Oh, it definitely happens here in racing. I'm sure we'll hear more about this. Unfortunately, haven't gotten word quite yet that any decision has been made. This might be something that they spend a lot of time mulling over just to make sure they get the decision right. So we're going to thank a few people, especially to the organizers here of the majors, for bringing us back for another season of coverage, and also to the charity, once again, that they have established for this one. Well, they didn't establish a charity, but they raised the money for SARGE'S Place, $150. If you want to help contribute, there is a link in the description below. Also, a thank you goes to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast, so you can find them listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Sean, Adam, Bill, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Our social media is GSR Channel for Twitter. Facebook is Global Sim Racing Channel. Instagram is GSRC_Graham. And if you'd like to support us, we've got a merchandise store at gsrc.storenvy.com. Another link is in the description below if you just want to click that instead of typing it out. The next race, it is going to be at another very big track, another popular one that everybody wants to win, Le Mans. That'll be Sunday, June 7th at 7:45 p.m. Eastern. We're going back to multi-class racing. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. See you on the track.